This month, AI has reached a new level, with breakthroughs that are both exciting and terrifying. From OpenAI's release of a new humanoid robot, Figure 02, to the stealthy launch of an upgraded ChatGPT, the race to advance AI technology is heating up. Google's latest AI models, including the upgraded Gemini Pro 0801 and the newly released Gemini Live, are turning heads, while new AI robots are starting to blur the lines between human and machine capabilities. Meanwhile, OpenAI's Orion, GPT-5, with Strawberry AI and Google's cutting-edge AI innovations, are setting the stage for the next era of artificial intelligence. And as if that wasn't enough, we've seen the emergence of autonomous AI scientists and powerful new tools like Grok 2.0 and Agent Q, redefining what's achievable. Stick around as we uncover the most astonishing AI stories from August 2024. Okay, let's talk about something super exciting and honestly a little bit terrifying in the world of AI. If you've been following the AI image generation scene for a while, you know we've had some big players dominating the space. Midjourney, DALL-E, Stable Diffusion. But guess what? A fresh contender has arrived and it goes by the name Flux. And trust me, you're gonna wanna know about this one. So where do we start? Let's kick things off with a little background on what's been going on in the AI world. You see, for the last couple of years, we've seen a massive boom in AI-generated art. Tools like Adobe Firefly, Midjourney, DALL-E, and Stable Diffusion have been battling it out to be the top dog, each one pushing the boundaries with their updates. But now, something new has entered the ring and it's got everyone talking. All right, let me paint you a picture. You're scrolling through your social media feed and you come across an image that looks so real you'd swear it was a photograph. But then you do a double take. Maybe it's the way the text on a lanyard looks a little funky or the patterns in the background seem a bit off. That's when you realize you're not looking at a photo. You're looking at an AI-generated image, and this thing is as close to real as it gets without actually being real. That's Flux for you, and it's causing quite a stir. So, Flux is an open source AI image generator that's being developed by a company called Black Forest Labs. If that name doesn't ring a bell, maybe the fact that some of the folks behind it used to work at Stability AI will, yup, that's the same crew responsible for Stable Diffusion, which, as you know, is a pretty big deal in the AI art world. The company is also working on a text-to-video model that it promises will offer high-quality output and be available open source, branding it state-of-the-art text-to-video for all. Now, since the startup recently secured $31 million in a financing round with backing from well-known tech investor Andreessen Horowitz, it's clear they're on solid footing. According to their homepage under the What's Next section, their upcoming model will be called Soda, and it's set to be available to everyone. Meanwhile, OpenAI's video generator Sora has been around for 6 months but is still only accessible to a select group of testers. Now, let's talk about what makes Flux so special. First off, it's open source, which means the code is out there for anyone to tinker with, modify, and integrate into their own projects. It gives a ton of flexibility to developers, hobbyists, and even small businesses who might not have the resources to invest in more expensive, proprietary tools like Midjourney. But there are actually 3 different versions of Flux. The first one is the Pro version, which is geared towards commercial use. This is the big boy, the model that's meant for companies that want to incorporate high-quality AI image generation into their products or services. Then there's the Dev version, which is a mid-weight model. It's sort of the middle ground, still powerful, but not quite as heavy-duty as the Pro version. And lastly, there's the Schnell version. Schnell means fast in German, by the way, which is fitting because this version is all about speed. It takes like 2 or 3 seconds for this model to generate an image, which is pretty crazy. It's the lightweight, fast-performing model that's great for those who want quick results without needing a super beefy machine to run it. Speaking of running it, here's another thing that sets Flux apart from its competition. It can run on some pretty modest hardware. Like, if you've got a decently powerful laptop, you're good to go. You don't need a supercomputer or a cloud service to get this thing up and running. That's a big deal because it makes high-quality AI image generation accessible to a much wider audience. When we talk about realism, Flux stands out as a clear leader. As I mentioned before, the images it creates are so lifelike it's hard to believe they're AI generated. In fact, some people are saying that Flux might just be the new king of photorealism, especially when you combine it with something called LoRA. LoRA is a fine-tuning script developed by a group called X Labs, and when you pair it with Flux, the results are nothing short of mind-blowing. We're talking about images that are so detailed, so accurate, that you'd be hard-pressed to tell them apart from real photos, at least at first glance. But, and there's always a but, it's not perfect. If you really start to scrutinize these images, you'll notice some telltale signs that they're AI generated. Text is a big giveaway. Flux still struggles with rendering small text accurately, so if you see something like a lanyard or a sign in the background, the text might look a little off. Patterns and textures can also get a bit wonky, and sometimes elements in the image are just slightly out of proportion. It's nothing that ruins the image outright, but if you're looking for it, you'll spot it. And then there's the issue of skin textures. As good as Flux is at rendering people, it sometimes falls short when it comes to making skin look natural. It actually makes the skin looking better than in reality. You might notice that it can appear a bit too smooth, which breaks the illusion of realism. It's something that Midjourney, especially in its latest version, seems to handle a bit better. But here's the thing, despite these minor imperfections, the images that Flux produces are going viral. And it's not hard to see why. The level of realism it achieves is stunning, and it's got people buzzing about the potential uses for this technology. Think about it. Stock photography, advertising, social media content, there's a huge market for realistic images, and Flux could be a game changer in that space. But as awesome as it is to be able to create hyper-realistic images with just a few clicks, there's also a darker side to this technology. We're already seeing concerns about how AI-generated images could be used to create fake news, commit scams, or spread misinformation. The more realistic these images become, the harder it's going to be to tell what's real and what's not. That's a pretty scary thought. And it's something that we're going to have to grapple with as AI technology continues to evolve. But let's not get too bogged down in the doom and gloom just yet. There's still a lot to be excited about with Flux, especially if you're someone who likes to experiment with new tech. If you're curious about trying it out for yourself, you've got a few options. If you've got a decent laptop, something with a good GPU, you can actually download and run Flux locally. There's a launcher called Pinocchio that makes it super easy to get set up. It's a big file, so it might take a while to download, but once you've got it, you can start generating images right on your own machine. No need to rely on cloud services or internet access, but if your computer isn't up to the task, don't worry. There are plenty of online platforms that have already integrated Flux into their offerings. For example, Night Cafe, which is one of the more popular AI image platforms out there, has added Flux to its lineup. This means you can generate images using Flux and compare them directly with images from other models like Ideogram and Stable Diffusion 3. It's a great way to see how Flux stacks up against the competition in real time. Another platform that's jumped on the Flux bandwagon is Poe. If you're not familiar with Poe, it's an AI model platform that lets you generate images in a chatbot-style format, kind of like how you would with ChatGPT and DALL-E. It's a different approach, but it's cool to see how Flux performs in that kind of environment. And if you're a developer, there are even more options. Flux is available on platforms like Based Labs, Hugging Face, and Fal.ai, which are more geared towards folks who want to dive into the technical side of things. Freepik, one of the biggest names in stock photography, is also working to bring Flux to its site, so keep an eye out for that. So Flux is definitely a model to watch. It's got the potential to shake up the AI image generation scene in a big way, and it's already proving to be a serious contender to establish names like Midjourney and Stable Diffusion. A brand new humanoid robot called Figure02 just got the internet's attention. It is backed by OpenAI and some other huge names in tech like Nvidia, Microsoft, and even Jeff Bezos' private fund. So yeah, it's pretty big. All right, so let's get into it. Figure, the company behind this robot, just dropped a teaser video for their latest model, Figure02. The video is short, like seriously short, but it's packed with some really interesting details if you look closely. So let's check out the video first, and then I'll break down everything you need to know. All right, so we see some robotic joints, limbs, and these futuristic-looking flexible mesh designs that are probably part of the robot's body. And if you're into specs, they even tease torque ratings up to 150 Newton meters. To break it down, that's basically a measure of how much force the robot can exert when it's moving something. There's also something about a ROM, or range of motion up to 195 degrees, which is kind of a big deal in the world of robotics. Now, Brett Adcock, the founder of Figure, and this guy is not new to wild tech startups. He's also behind Archer Aviation, and Vettery posted on Twitter, or X as it's called now, that Figure 02 is the most advanced humanoid robot on the planet. Bold claim, right? But with the backing they've got, it's hard not to take him seriously. So let's rewind a bit. Figure as a company only started in 2022, which is like yesterday in startup terms. And they've already got a lot of people talking. They came out of nowhere in March 2023 with their first model, Figure 01, which was aimed at tackling global labor shortages. The idea is that these robots can step in to do jobs that are unsafe or just plain boring for humans, like working in warehouses, factories, and retail. And get this, they built their first full-scale humanoid robot in just 6 months. 6 months, people. That's insane. They've got a team of 40 experts, including their CTO, Dr. Jerry Pratt, who's a big name in the robotics world. Their vision is pretty clear. Make robots that boost productivity, make workplaces safer, and get this, they've promised they'll never weaponize these robots. So they're really going for that good guy angle. What's also cool is they've already inked a deal with BMW manufacturing, so we might be seeing these robots in action sooner rather than later. And to top it off, Figure 01 had some impressive integration with OpenAI's GPT-4V model, which is like the top-of-the-line AI tech right now.
Can you explain why you did what you just did while you pick up this trash?
On it. So I gave you the apple because it's the only edible item I could provide you with from the table.
So you can bet Figure 02 will be packing some even newer AI models when it drops on August 6th, 2024. Now, Figure isn't the only one in the game. The race to bring AI-powered humanoid robots into our homes and workplaces is heating up. You've got Elon Musk out there saying there's going to be a market for over 10 billion, yes, billion with a B, humanoid robots. He's working on his own robot, Tesla Optimus, which is basically going to be a competitor to Figure. And then there's NVIDIA, who's been showing off some pretty wild stuff with their Project GR00T using Apple Vision Pro headsets to help train AI robots through teleoperators. Oh, and don't forget Boston Dynamics. Those guys have been in the game for a while, and they're working on their own humanoid robot too, upgrading their Atlas model with electric motors to make it cheaper and more reliable. Now, another really interesting development in the world of AI and robotics is coming from a startup called Oxford Dynamics, based in Harwell, Oxfordshire. They're working on a robot called Strider, and this thing is specifically designed to venture into some of the most dangerous environments known to man. We're talking about places where chemical, biological, or even nuclear threats are present. Basically, situations where you really wouldn't want to send a human. Now, Oxford Dynamics isn't just playing around here. They've already landed a £1 million contract with the UK Ministry of Defence, MOD, to design, develop, and supply these robots. The idea is, instead of risking human lives, why not send in a machine that can handle the job? Mike Lawton, one of the directors at the company, is thinking big. He's talking about building hundreds, maybe even thousands of these Strider robots in the future, all with the goal of making the world a safer place. So what exactly can Strider do? Well, this robot is pretty versatile. It's got a long, multi-jointed arm that can take readings, collect samples, and retrieve contaminated objects. And it moves around on these tank-like treads, which means it's built to handle rough, unpredictable terrain. Think about how tough it would be for a human in a hazmat suit to navigate a place like that. Strider can do it without breaking a sweat. Well, if robots could sweat. The company started working on Strider in November, and they've got until September to deliver the finished product to the Defense Science and Technology Laboratory. They're hoping Strider can be used in scenarios like the 2018 Novichok attack in Salisbury, where dealing with contaminated objects was a serious challenge. This robot could swoop in, grab those dangerous items, and secure them in sealed containers, all while performing tasks that would be really difficult for humans. But Oxford Dynamics isn't stopping there. They're planning to integrate their AI software into Strider, and they're calling it AVIS, which stands for a Very Intelligent System. That sounds a bit like Jarvis from Iron Man. You're spot on. That's exactly what inspired them.
Wake up, Daddy's home.
Welcome home, son.
The possibilities here are endless. Shefali Sharma, one of the founders, even mentioned that this tech could be adapted for use in submarines or fighter jets in the future. For these guys, seeing this technology get into the hands of people who truly need it is the ultimate goal. Shefali said it would be a dream come true to see Strider out there making a real difference. And it's not just the startup that's excited. Ewan Davies from DEFRA, the UK Department for Environment, Food and Rural Affairs, mentioned in a statement that it's great to see these concepts rapidly turning into a highly capable and flexible platform. So just like Figure is pushing the boundaries of what humanoid robots can do, Oxford Dynamics is showing us how AI and robotics can literally save lives by stepping into the most hazardous situations on Earth. It's a thrilling time for technology, and it's going to be fascinating to see how both of these projects evolve in the near future. So yeah, the competition is fierce, but with the kind of momentum Figure has, plus the backing of some of the biggest names in tech, they seem like they're in a really strong position to keep pushing forward. I can't wait to see what this Figure 02 is really capable of when it's fully revealed. All right, if you're interested in how AI and robotics are reshaping our world, make sure to stick around for more deep dives into the latest tech. If you've been feeling like your AI buddy's been acting a bit different lately, maybe quicker, sharper, and just a tad smarter, you're not alone. OpenAI has been sneaky, rolling out some major changes without a big announcement, but don't worry, I've got all the details you need to know right here. So let's talk about it. Last week, I started noticing that ChatGPT felt different. It was like the responses were more on point, faster, and just generally better. I wasn't the only one either. People all over social media were talking about how ChatGPT seemed to be upgraded. But here's the thing, OpenAI didn't say a word about it at first. It was all very hush-hush until they finally dropped a little bombshell on us. OpenAI took to X to casually mention that they'd slipped in a new version of their GPT-4o model into ChatGPT. So they just updated the model we've all been using without making a big deal about it. The message was simple. There's a new GPT-4o model out in ChatGPT since last week. Hope you all are enjoying it and check it out if you haven't. We think you'll like it. That's it. No fancy press release, no grand unveiling, just a tweet. Typical OpenAI, right? Now, if you're wondering what's so special about this new model, let's break it down. The updated version of GPT-4o, which they're calling ChatGPT-4o Latest, is essentially a fine-tuned and optimized version of what we had before, but here's where it gets interesting. While OpenAI hasn't spilled all the beans, there's a lot of speculation about what this new model actually is. Some people out there are thinking this might be part of a bigger strategy by OpenAI to release different sized models, kind of like what Google and Anthropic are doing. There's been talk about a GPT-4o large, and some think this latest update could be a stepping stone in that direction. But I'm not totally sold on that idea because let's be real, if it were a brand new model, they probably would have hyped it up a lot more. So what can this new model do? Well, from what I've seen and what others have reported, it's performing better on tasks that require complex reasoning and creativity. Like, if you've been asking ChatGPT to help with coding or solve tricky problems, you might have noticed it's just a little bit sharper now. It's also faster, which is a nice bonus, but of course, it's not perfect. There are still some weird quirks. For example, in one test, the model was asked to stack a book, 9 eggs, a laptop, a bottle, and a nail in a stable manner. The solution? It suggested putting 9 eggs on top of a bottle. I mean, come on, who does that? And then when it was asked how many R's are in the word strawberry, it came back with 2, which is definitely wrong. So yeah, there are still some bugs to work out, but overall, the update is a step in the right direction. Now, talking about strawberry, let's talk about something that's been generating a lot of hype Project Strawberry. The idea behind Project Strawberry is that it could be a new post-training method that boosts the model's reasoning skills. Some people are even saying that the improvements we're seeing in ChatGPT might be the first signs of this mysterious project in action. One of the coolest things about the new ChatGPT 4o latest model is how it handles multi-step reasoning. This basically means the AI isn't just jumping to conclusions, it's thinking things through, step by step, before it gives you an answer. That's a pretty big deal because it leads to more accurate and thoughtful responses, which is something we all want, right? The new model has already made waves in the AI community, especially in something called the LMSYS leaderboard. Now, if you're not familiar with it, the LMSYS leaderboard is like the Olympics for AI models. They put different models head to head in all sorts of tasks. And the new ChatGPT 4o latest model just crushed it. It scored a whopping 1314 points, which is the highest score ever recorded on that leaderboard. This means it's outperforming some of the biggest names in the game, like Google, Anthropic, and Meta. Now, if you're thinking, how do I get my hands on this new model? Well, it's super easy. OpenAI has already swapped out the old GPT-4o with the new version in both the ChatGPT website and app. So, all you have to do is fire up ChatGPT and you're good to go. If you're on the free plan, you might hit some message limits, but for those of you who are on the Plus plan, you can push the model to the limit and really see what it can do. But don't worry if you're not ready to shell out the $20 a month for the Plus plan. You can still get a good feel for the new model before you hit those limits, and then if you run out of messages, you can switch over to GPT-4o Mini. It's not quite the same, but it's still pretty powerful. Also, one more really interesting thing is how OpenAI has been testing these updates. They've been sneaking experimental models into places like the LMSY's Chatbot Arena under random names, so people don't even realize they're testing new tech. The ChatGPT 4o latest model, for example, was tested under the name Anonymous Chatbot, and it got over 11,000 votes from users. That's a lot of people unknowingly helping out with the testing, which just goes to show how clever OpenAI's approach is. So what's next? Well, if this update is anything to go by, we can expect OpenAI to keep refining and improving ChatGPT. They're clearly focused on making it better at reasoning, creativity, and all those tasks that require a bit more brain power. And who knows, maybe we'll see even more of Project Strawberry in the future. All right, now I also want to talk about a new AI model that just came out, but it didn't really get the attention it deserves. This model, called Falcon Mamba 7B, was released by the Technology Innovation Institute, TII, in Abu Dhabi. TII is known for working on cutting-edge technologies like AI, quantum computing, and robotics, and now they've dropped this new model. It's available on Hugging Face, and it's an open-source model, which is pretty cool, but what really sets it apart is the new architecture it's using. Most of us are familiar with transformer models, which have been dominating the AI scene for a while now, but Falcon Mamba 7B uses something different called the Mamba State Space Language Model, SLM architecture. This new approach is quickly becoming a solid alternative to those traditional transformer models. Now, why is this important? Well, transformers are great, but they have some issues, especially when it comes to handling longer pieces of text. You see, transformers use an attention mechanism that looks at every word in a text and compares it to every other word to understand the context. But as the text gets longer, this process demands more and more computing power and memory. If you don't have the resources to keep up, the model slows down and struggles with longer texts. This is where SSLM comes in. Unlike transformers, SSLM doesn't just rely on comparing words to each other. Instead, it continuously updates a state as it processes the text. This means it can handle much longer sequences of text without needing a ton of extra memory or computing power. Now, Falcon Mamba 7B uses this SSLM architecture, which was originally developed by researchers at Carnegie Mellon and Princeton universities. What's cool about this model is that it can dynamically adjust its parameters based on the input, so it knows when to focus on certain parts of the text and when to ignore others. So, how does Falcon Mamba 7B stack up against the big players like Meta's Llama 3.8b, Llama 3.18b, and Mistral 7b? TII ran some tests, and the results are pretty impressive. In terms of how much text the model can handle, Falcon Mamba 7B can fit larger sequences than the transformer models using just a single 24 GB A10 GPU. This means it can theoretically handle infinite context length if you process the text token by token or in chunks. And again, Falcon Mamba 7B came out on top. It beat Mistral 7B's sliding window attention architecture by generating all tokens at a constant speed without any increase in memory usage. And that's a big deal for anyone working with large-scale AI tasks because it means the model is both fast and efficient. Even when it comes to standard industry benchmarks, Falcon Mamba 7B holds its own. In tests like ARC, Truthful QA, and GSM 8K, it outperformed or matched the top transformer models. Sure, there were a couple of benchmarks like MMLU and HeliSwag where it didn't quite take the lead, but it was still right up there with the best of them. But here's the thing, this is just the beginning for Falcon Mamba 7B. Tichu has big plans to keep optimizing the model and expanding its capabilities. They're not just stopping at SSLM, they're also pushing the limits of transformer models to keep driving innovation in AI. So if you're into AI or just curious about what the future holds, keep an eye on Falcon Mamba 7B. It's already making a name for itself, and with TII's continued efforts, it's only going to get better. Plus, with over 45 million downloads of their Falcon models, TII is proving that they're a major player in the AI world. So, you know how Google's been kind of struggling in the AI world lately, right? I mean, they had some pretty rough moments, like that one time their Bard chatbot gave wrong info about the James Webb Space Telescope during its first big demo. That little mess up cost Google's parent company, Alphabet, a casual $100 billion in market value. Yeah, that hurt. And don't even get me started on their Gemini image generation tool. People were tearing it apart for historical inaccuracies and some bias issues, so Google had to pull the plug on that one really quick. With all that, it seemed like Google was falling way behind OpenAI and Microsoft, who've been absolutely killing it with their AI stuff, especially with GPT-4o and all the AI integration Microsoft's been doing. It was almost like Google was this giant who was stumbling, trying to keep up in a race it used to dominate. But here's the plot twist. Google just pulled off a major comeback, and it's got everyone in the AI world buzzing. They've been steadily improving their AI game, and now they've rolled out some impressive upgrades. Earlier this year, they introduced Gemini 1.5 Pro, which really shook things up, and now they're back at it with a new version. We're talking about the experimental version 0801 of Gemini 1.5 Pro, which is now available for early testing and feedback through Google AI Studio and the Gemini API. The LMSYS Chatbot Arena is a popular benchmark that tests AI models on various tasks and gives them an overall competency score. In a recent evaluation, GPT-4 got a score of 1,286, and Claude 3 wasn't far behind with 1,271. Interestingly, an experimental version of Google's Gemini model called Gemini 1.5 Pro 0801 scored an impressive 1,300. This surpasses even the scores of its well-known competitors. For context, an earlier version of Gemini 1.5 Pro scored 1,261. While this suggests Gemini might be more capable overall, it's important to remember that benchmarks don't tell the whole story about an AI model's strengths and weaknesses. The AI community is buzzing with excitement about this latest Gemini version. Social media is flooded with users praising it as insanely good, with some even claiming it blows GPT-4 out of the water. So yeah, Google's definitely back in the game with this one. This release marks a turning point where users now have a variety of strong AI chatbot options. Ultimately, the best model for a user will depend on their specific needs and preferences. It remains to be seen if this experimental version of Gemini will become the standard. Although it's currently available to the public, its early release status means it could be modified or even taken down in the future for safety or alignment reasons. So, it's safe to say that Gemini 1.5 Pro is a top contender in the world of AI models. One of its most impressive features is its ability to handle massive amounts of data, like processing up to 1 million tokens. Now, the other model they launched, Gemma 2.2b, is kind of a game changer too. It's got 2 billion parameters, which might sound small compared to some other models out there, but this thing punches way above its weight class. It's actually outperformed models that are way bigger, like OpenAI's GPT 3.5 and even Meta's Llama 2. Google's basically showing everyone that bigger isn't always better in the AI world. It's all about how you optimize and tweak what you've got. Now, while Google is making strides with their AI models, not everything they touch turns to gold. Case in point, the Dear Sydney ad fiasco. So, Google had this ad running during the Olympics on NBC, where a dad uses the Gemini AI to help his daughter write a fan letter to her hero, Olympic track star Sydney McLaughlin-Levrone. Sounds harmless, right? Well, not exactly. In the ad, the dad asks Gemini to help his daughter write this heartfelt letter, and the AI goes ahead and does it. But here's where things get weird. The whole premise of using AI to write something as personal as a fan letter didn't sit well with a lot of people. Critics were quick to call it out as tone-deaf and just plain bizarre. I mean, who wants an AI-written fan letter? It's supposed to be personal, right? Something that comes from the heart, not a machine. The backlash was almost immediate. People were all over social media roasting the ad for being out of touch. Linda Holmes, a novelist and podcast host, pretty much summed up the sentiment by saying, "Who wants an AI-written fan letter?" And honestly, she's got a point. The ad came off as a bit of a misfire, like Google was trying too hard to show off their AI's capabilities without really thinking about whether it made sense in this context. So, how did Google respond? Well, they decided to pull the ad from their Olympics rotation. They said the ad tested well before it aired, but after hearing the feedback, they thought it was best to phase it out. However, they didn't completely abandon the idea. They defended it by saying their goal was to show how AI can enhance creativity, not replace it. They wanted to create an authentic story celebrating Team USA, and in their minds, the Gemini AI was just supposed to be a tool to help get the creative juices flowing, not do all the work. But even with that explanation, the damage was kind of done. The whole situation just highlighted the fine line tech companies have to walk when it comes to integrating AI into everyday life. Sure, AI can be an amazing tool, but there are some areas, like personal expression, where people might not be so keen on letting a machine take over. Not everything is great for OpenAI either. Despite attracting significant investments, exceeding $11.3 billion since 2015 from big players like Microsoft and Sequoia, OpenAI is facing a financial tightrope walk. A recent report suggests they're on track to spend a staggering $8.5 billion this year alone, raising concerns about their long-term sustainability and even sparking whispers of potential bankruptcy. Now, what's driving these massive costs? Running cutting-edge AI models like ChatGPT doesn't come cheap. OpenAI is projected to shell out around $7 billion just to keep these models up and running. A significant chunk of this, approximately $4 billion, is dedicated to renting server capacity from Microsoft, highlighting the immense computational power required for their AI operations. An additional $3 billion is earmarked for training their AI models, including licensing agreements with news organizations like News Corp to access and learn from their vast content libraries. And let's not forget about their 1,500 employees. Their salaries are estimated to reach $1.5 billion this year, while OpenAI is generating revenue projected to fall between $3.5 billion and $4.5 billion this year, primarily from ChatGPT and other paid AI services. It's not enough to offset their massive expenditures. This puts them on track for a potential loss of at least $5 billion for the year. To put this into perspective, Google-backed Anthropic, a competitor, expects to burn through $2.7 billion this year. This situation has ignited concerns about OpenAI's future. Some experts are even questioning the viability of their business model, particularly with the emergence of free and open source AI models like Meta's Llama 3.1. This model, which allows developers free access to its code, could potentially undercut OpenAI's paid offerings, especially as some businesses are already hesitant about AI's cost and accuracy. This isn't the first time OpenAI's financial stability has been questioned. Last year, reports of ChatGPT's high running costs, nearly $700,000 per day, sparked similar concerns. However, OpenAI's strong backing from giants like Microsoft with a $13 billion investment offers some reassurance. Microsoft's CEO, Satya Nadella, has emphasized that their investment secures them significant rights to OpenAI's technology, ensuring continuity even if OpenAI were to face difficulties. Despite these financial challenges, OpenAI remains committed to pushing the boundaries of AI. They continue to release new products, including the AI-powered video generator Sora and the AI search engine SearchGPT, which even caused a dip in Google's stock price. OpenAI CEO Sam Altman remains steadfast in his ambition to achieve artificial general intelligence, AGI, even if it means spending billions. He envisions AGI as highly autonomous systems that surpass human capabilities in most economically valuable tasks. In essence, OpenAI is engaged in a high-stakes gamble. They are pouring immense resources into developing groundbreaking AI, even if it means operating at a significant loss. Whether their bet pays off with the dawn of AGI or leads to financial difficulties remains to be seen. One thing is certain, the world is watching OpenAI's every move with bated breath. So let's talk about robots, specifically humanoid robots powered by AI, and explore all the exciting developments that were showcased at the 2024 World Robot Conference in Beijing. And trust me, there is a lot to unpack from this event. We're talking game-changing innovations, cutting-edge technology, and the latest in AI advancements. So let's get into it. All right, so first, let's set the stage. The World Robot Conference is kind of a big deal in the tech world. Think of it as the Oscars for robotics. It takes place every year in Beijing, and it's where the latest and greatest in robotic technology is put on display. This year, the conference was bigger and better than ever, attracting 169 exhibitors from all over the globe, showing off more than 600 innovative products. And here's the kicker. There were a record-high 27 humanoid robots featured this year. Yeah, humanoid robots are becoming a major focal point in the robotics field, and the hype is real. So, why all the buzz around humanoid robots? Well, there's a growing interest in how AI can be integrated into robots that look and move like humans. These aren't standard robots that you might see in factories. These are androids designed to interact with us in a more natural, human-like way. The idea is that these robots could eventually perform tasks just like, or even better than, humans. And it's not just about replacing humans, it's about collaborating with us, especially in environments that are dangerous or require heavy labor. A great example from the conference is the Unitree G1. This is a two-legged humanoid robot standing about 1.3 meters tall and weighing around 35 kilograms. It's sleek, it looks futuristic, and it's packed with some pretty advanced tech. The Unitree G1 can move at a speed of 2 meters per second and has advanced 3-finger force control hands, which means it can handle objects delicately and precisely. It's also got a maximum knee joint torque of 120 Newton meters, so it's pretty strong for its size. What really sets the Unitree G1 apart is its Robot Unified Large Model, which is a fancy way of saying that it has a robust AI system that allows it to learn and refine its skills continuously. This model was launched this year, and it's already making waves. Priced at around 99,000 yuan, or about 13,874 US dollars, it's actually quite affordable considering its advanced capabilities. According to Huang Jiawei, the marketing director at Unitree, this robot isn't just designed to look impressive, it's built to be highly functional in a variety of practical applications. That's why it's already being adopted by numerous labs and companies. Now, at the conference, Shenzhen-based Ubitech Robotics showed off some of their robots that are currently deployed on automotive production lines. These robots aren't just for show, they are doing real work: intelligent transportation, quality inspection, and even handling chemicals. It's a big step forward for the large-scale application of humanoid robots in manufacturing. According to Greg G., the lead on Ubitech's humanoid robot motion control algorithm team, their robots currently operate at about 20% of human efficiency. Now that might not sound super impressive at first, but here's the thing. They expect to reach nearly 100% efficiency within the next 1 to 2 years. And remember, robots can work 24/7 without breaks. This means their overall efficiency could soon surpass that of human workers. The integration of AI models has accelerated the development of humanoid robots. As G mentioned, we're looking at a future where robots and humans are going to be working side by side more often, especially in environments that are risky or involve heavy-duty tasks. Essentially, robots that can help you with heavy lifting or perform tasks that are too dangerous for humans. That's the direction we're heading in, and it's pretty exciting. Another standout from the conference was the Tiangong, an embodied AI robot. Now, what do they mean by embodied AI? Simply put, it's AI with a physical form, an AI that doesn't just exist in the cloud or on a server somewhere, but is integrated into a robot that can interact with the physical world. The Tiangong was a big hit at the event because it showcased some pretty advanced capabilities. It could engage in conversations, respond to voice commands, and even grasp and place objects in designated spots. Xi Jinping, the team leader from the Beijing Embodied Artificial Intelligence Robotics Innovation Center, explained that embodied AI helps bridge the gap between the digital and physical worlds. Just think about it. An AI that can move around on its own and interact intelligently with its surroundings opens up a whole new realm of possibilities. Imagine heading to a concert and a humanoid robot guides you to your seat, fetches your favorite snack, or even helps you navigate through the crowd. That's the kind of future embodied AI is aiming for, and the Tiangong robot is a big step in making that vision a reality. Other impressive presentations at the 2024 World Robot Conference in Beijing included a Tencent's four-legged robot dog. Now, if you've ever seen a robot dog before, you might think, okay, big deal. But this one's on a whole different level. It doesn't just walk, it can run, jump, and even perform backward somersaults. It's super agile and could go places a human or even a regular robot couldn't reach. Then we got Alibaba's new logistics robot. Now, logistics might not sound super exciting at first, but this robot is designed for last mile delivery, which is a huge challenge in the e-commerce world. It's like your own little autonomous delivery guy that can navigate complex urban environments without any human intervention. Then, there was a robot that totally captivated the audience, a robot that can play the Chinese dulcimer. And not just playing like a simple tune, it learned to play this complex instrument in just 2 to 3 days, which is insane. This kind of skill acquisition shows just how far AI learning has come. Next up, we've got a robot that really blurs the lines between human and machine. A humanoid robot that mimics human facial expressions in real time. It's designed to look like a young man and can perfectly replicate its partner's facial expressions. Now, we can't forget about the medical sector. There were several presentations featuring advanced medical robots that are designed for surgical precision. Using AI to assist with surgeries can greatly reduce the margin for human error and improve outcomes for patients. Agriculture also got some love at the conference with robots designed for the field, literally. These agricultural robots are capable of tasks like planting, weeding, and harvesting, which could majorly cut down labor costs and boost efficiency on farms. We're talking about robots that could help address food security by optimizing farming processes. Now, this next one's pretty interesting. Wison Technology showed off their innovative pliable robotic arms. Instead of the usual motors, these arms use 3D printed plastics and pneumatic artificial muscles, making them way cheaper to produce, like 1/10 the cost of traditional robotic arms. This could make high-quality robotic tech accessible to a lot more industries. And then there's the Walker S Lite robot from UB Tech Robotics. This one's an industrial humanoid robot that's already at work in car factories. It's helping with everything from quality testing to sorting parts, working right alongside human workers to improve efficiency on the production line. And lastly, we saw the debut of the Robot Blue Book, an extensive report that dives deep into the Chinese robotics industry and its potential. It's kind of like a roadmap for the future of robotics, outlining development trends and opportunities. For anyone interested in the business side of robotics, this is a must-read. Now, while there are some incredible advancements, there are still challenges to overcome in the robotics industry. For instance, at the conference, Yi Gang, founder of Shanghai-based T5 Robot, highlighted some of the problems in the current robotics supply chain. Product reliability is actually one of the biggest issues. Due to high defect rates, companies like his can only produce up to 1,000 units at a time. And let's not forget about the key components like harmonic gears, which are crucial for motion control in robots but still face quality and reliability issues. Also, Wison Technology, another player in the robotics field, is doing something pretty unique. They're using 3D printed plastics and pneumatic artificial muscles instead of the traditional motors and reducers for their robotic arms. This makes their robots much cheaper to produce, about 1/10 the cost of traditional robotic arms, which could be a game changer for affordability in the industry. According to Chao Wei from Lanchi Ventures, who has invested in Wison, these pliable robotic arms could potentially be used in humanoid robots in the future. But in any case, China is pushing hard to become a global leader in this field. As mentioned by Marina Bill, president of the International Federation of Robotics, China's manufacturing capabilities and supply chain strength are really tough to match, even for some of the most developed countries. There's also a big focus on developing new productive forces in technology. As Premier Li Qiang highlighted, the robot industry has broad prospects and massive market potential. The government is calling for efforts to promote the expansion and popularization of robots across various fields, industry, agriculture, and even services. Essentially, AI has ushered in the iPhone moment for humanoid robots. Think about it. Just like the iPhone revolutionized the smartphone industry, AI is set to revolutionize robotics. We're getting closer than ever to making the dream of fully integrated humanoid robots a reality. The plan is to establish a production capacity of over 10,000 embodied AI robots by the end of 2026, according to Kong Lei from the Beijing Economic Technological Development Area Administrative Committee. That's a pretty ambitious goal, but Given the rapid pace of development we're seeing, it seems totally possible. Okay, so remember when we talked about the Figure 02 robot a few days ago? At that point, it was just the initial hype and we only knew a few specs. But now that we have the full details, this thing is actually insane. This robot represents a legitimate breakthrough in humanoid robots. And if that wasn't crazy enough, there's a new AI robot, Dentist, that just performed fully autonomous dental surgery on a live patient without any human help. It's wild to think about. These developments are super exciting, so let me break down why they're such a big deal. All right, first off, let's talk about the design. Figure 02 looks like it means business. If you remember Figure 01, it had this kind of bulky chrome metal look, almost like it was wearing a suit of armor. That was cool and all, but the new model has gone for a sleeker, matte black finish that makes it look more like a high-end sports car than a medieval knight. The reason behind this is that Figure 01 was designed to withstand endless hours of testing in the lab, so it had to be over-engineered to handle the wear and tear. But now that Figure 02 is closer to a production model, they've refined everything, making it look and move more like something you'd actually see working on a production line. One of the big changes they made is with the cabling. In Figure 01, the wires were pretty much all over the place, purposefully exposed for easy fixes and adjustments during testing. But with Figure 02, everything is tucked away inside the limbs. Not only does this make it look cleaner, but it also protects the cables from the environment, which is crucial if you're going to have these robots working long shifts in a factory setting. And speaking of working long hours, the battery on this thing has been seriously upgraded. Figure 02 now has a battery that gives it over 50% more energy compared to the first model. The battery is integrated into the robot's torso, which is a smart move because it brings the center of mass closer to the middle of the robot's body. This design tweak makes Figure 02 more balanced and nimble, so it can move around more efficiently while carrying out tasks. Now let's get into the tech that really makes this robot stand out. First, the hands. Figure 02 has hands with 16 degrees of freedom, meaning it can move its fingers and wrist in a way that's almost as flexible as a human hand. And these hands aren't just for show, they've got some serious strength. The robot can carry up to 25 kilograms, which is about 55 pounds. That's a pretty big jump from Figure 01, which could only handle 20 kilograms. The goal here is for the robot to manipulate objects just like a human would, and they're getting pretty close to that. But it's not just about strength, it's also about smarts. Figure 02 is equipped with 6 onboard cameras that give it a full view of its surroundings. These cameras feed into a vision language model that helps the robot make sense of what it's seeing. So whether it's picking up objects, avoiding obstacles, or just navigating its environment, Figure 02 can do it all on its own. This is a massive leap forward in terms of autonomy, and it's made possible by a partnership with OpenAI. And speaking of OpenAI, one of the coolest features of Figure 02 is its ability to understand and respond to voice commands. You might remember seeing some videos of this from earlier in the year where the robot was interacting with humans through speech.
Hey, Figure 1, what do you see right now?
I see a red apple on a plate in the center of the table, a drying rack with cups and a plate, and you standing nearby with your hand on the table.
Well, they've taken that to the next level. The new model has 3 times the computation power and AI inference capabilities compared to Figure 01. This means it can process information and carry out tasks much faster and more efficiently. This voice interaction isn't just for simple commands either. Figure 02 can actually hold conversations thanks to onboard microphones and speakers that are connected to custom AI models developed with OpenAI. So you can literally talk to this robot like you would with a coworker, and it'll understand what you're saying and respond accordingly.
Where do you think the dishes in front of you go next?
The dishes on the table, like that plate and cup, are likely to go into the drying rack next.
It's like having a conversation with ChatGPT, but instead of just text, you've got a full-on humanoid robot standing in front of you ready to get to work. Now, the real kicker here is that this isn't just some lab prototype anymore. Figure AI has partnered with BMW, and they've already deployed these robots in a plant in South Carolina. They've been running tests to see how well the robot can handle tasks in a real industrial environment, and the results are looking pretty promising. This isn't just some flashy tech demo. This robot is actually out there, learning and performing tasks in a factory setting. Figure AI is clearly pushing hard to make humanoid robots a reality in the next few years. They've raised a whopping $675 million to keep the momentum going, and they're not slowing down anytime soon. With competitors like Tesla's Optimus and Boston Dynamics' Atlas also in the mix, we're on the brink of seeing these robots move from the lab to the production floor on a large scale. So if you thought humanoid robots were still a thing of the future, think again. And keep an eye on this one because it's only going to get more interesting from here. All right, now check this out. Something absolutely groundbreaking just went down in the world of AI and robotics. For the first time ever, a robot has performed fully autonomous surgery on a live patient. We've now got a robot dentist that can handle certain dental procedures all by itself. No human intervention needed. This is huge, and it could completely transform how we think about healthcare and AI. Imagine lower costs, no more waiting times since we can basically make as many of these robots as we need, and eventually, maybe even better service than what we're used to. And who knows, we might even see a day when we have our own personal dentist AI robot at home. I know it sounds wild, but with this breakthrough, it's not that far-fetched anymore. The company behind this innovation is called Perceptive, and they've been working on this for a while. What they've created is essentially a robot that combines AI, 3D imaging, and robotics to perform dental procedures like placing crowns. Now, normally, getting a crown would take 2 separate visits to the dentist, with each visit lasting at least an hour. But with Perceptive's robot, that whole process can be done in just 15 minutes. Imagine the time and stress that could save. Here's how it works. The robot uses something called a 3D volumetric data procedure to diagnose the issue and plan the treatment. It starts with an OCT scan, optical coherence technology, using a handheld intraoral scanner developed by Perceptive. This scan is super detailed, capturing 3D images that go beneath the gum line, through fluids, and even under the surface of the tooth. What's really cool is that this whole process doesn't expose the patient to any of the ionizing radiation you'd usually get from traditional X-rays. The robot doesn't just stop at scanning. Perceptive's AI algorithms take that 3D data and translate it into a precise plan for the surgery. The result? A robot that can diagnose and treat dental issues with an accuracy rate of over 90%. That's not only super efficient, but it also cuts down on the chances of human error. Plus, the detailed images from the scan help patients actually see and understand what's going on with their teeth, which is a nice bonus. Now, the real question is this all just a pipe dream, or could we actually see it in action anytime soon? Well, the truth is it's going to take some time. Perceptive's robot has already performed a fully autonomous dental procedure on a patient in Colombia, but it's not ready for widespread use just yet. The system still needs to get approval from the US Food and Drug Administration, FDA, before it can be rolled out on a larger scale. According to Perceptive's CEO, Chris Ciriello, we're probably looking at about 5 years before they can get that FDA green light. But the potential here is huge. Perceptive has already raised $30 million in funding with some pretty big names getting behind it, like Mark Zuckerberg's dad, Dr. Edward Zuckerberg. He's a dentist himself and has been a vocal supporter of this technology. Dr. Zuckerberg has even pointed out that the robot is designed to operate safely, even if the patient moves around during the procedure, which is a major concern when you're dealing with something as precise as dental surgery. Now, if Perceptive's robot gets FDA approval, we could be looking at a new era of dental care, one where robots handle routine procedures quickly, efficiently, and with minimal human involvement. That could free up dentists to focus on more complex cases and allow them to see more patients in less time, ultimately improving the quality of care. Of course, Perceptive needs to release peer-reviewed studies to prove that their robot is as safe and effective as they claim. And then there's the whole issue of public perception. Are people ready to trust a robot with something as personal as their dental care? I don't know, but I would. And whether you find it exciting or a little bit scary, it's hard to deny that the future of healthcare is going to look a lot different and a lot more robotic than what we're used to. AGI might be closer than we think with OpenAI's new model, Strawberry, and they've already tested it. And let's just say it's a bit terrifying. Launching this fall, Strawberry could blow past the limits of current AI, handling tasks that were previously thought impossible. This model is packed with next-level capabilities, from solving complex problems to enhancing existing AI tools like ChatGPT. So let's get into it. All right, Strawberry is the code name for OpenAI's new AI model, which they plan to launch this fall. According to various reports, Strawberry is being designed to perform tasks that current AI models struggle with or simply can't do at all. Think of things like solving complex math problems it's never encountered before, developing detailed marketing strategies, or even tackling advanced word puzzles. For example, Strawberry has reportedly been able to solve the New York Times connections puzzle, which is no small feat for an AI, but Strawberry's abilities are far more serious than puzzles and math problems. The model is set to dramatically improve reasoning capabilities, allowing it to perform in-depth research, generate high-quality synthetic data, and potentially revolutionize fields that rely heavily on data analysis and strategic planning. OpenAI has even demonstrated Strawberry's capabilities to US national security officials, showing just how seriously they're taking this new development. The potential applications for Strawberry are vast, spanning from business strategy and supply chain management to research and security. Now, the name Strawberry might sound a bit lighthearted, but the backstory is quite the opposite. Originally, this model was known as Q**, pronounced Q* within OpenAI. This wasn't just a name change for branding purposes, it came at a time of significant upheaval at OpenAI. The internal development and potential implications of Q* led to some intense discussions within the company, even contributing to a temporary ouster of CEO Sam Altman. Altman was eventually reinstated, but the incident highlights the kind of pressure and scrutiny this model has been under from the very beginning. The concerns around Q* and now Strawberry stem from its potential to be a significant step toward AGI, Artificial General Intelligence. AGI represents the kind of AI that can understand, learn, and apply knowledge across an array of tasks, much like a human. The tech community has been cautious about AGI because of the possible risks it poses. Advanced AI that can operate with a high degree of autonomy might present challenges, such as aligning its objectives with human values and ensuring it doesn't lead to unintended consequences. There's a lot of excitement, but also a fair amount of caution. Now, let's get into some of the technical details, because this is where Strawberry really stands out. The model is reported to have scored over 90% on the math benchmark, a series of championship-level math problems. To give you some context, GPT-4, another well-known model from OpenAI, only scored 53%, while GPT-4o, an improved version, managed to reach 76.6%. If Strawberry truly hits the 90% mark, it's not just a minor upgrade, it's a quantum leap in terms of AI capabilities. The model also shows advanced reasoning and planning skills, making it more versatile than its predecessors. It's capable of generating synthetic data, which means it can create its own training material to continually improve its performance. This ability to self-generate data is groundbreaking. It reduces the need for massive amounts of real-world data to train AI models, which is a huge advantage considering the challenges and limitations associated with data privacy, quality, and availability. Moreover, Strawberry will likely be integrated into products like ChatGPT, enhancing its capabilities with advanced reasoning. This would allow ChatGPT to engage in conversation, solve complex problems, plan strategies, and assist with real-time research, making it a more versatile AI assistant. But that's just the beginning for OpenAI's plans with Strawberry. This model is also playing a crucial role in training a new AI system codenamed Orion. Rumored to be the next step beyond GPT-4 and GPT-4o, Orion could potentially become the highly anticipated GPT-5. With Strawberry laying the groundwork for Orion's training data, it's clear that OpenAI isn't settling for minor upgrades. They're gearing up for a major breakthrough in AI capabilities. The approach they're using involves something akin to a technique called STAR, self-taught reasoner, which was proposed by researchers at Stanford. This method involves training AI models to reason more effectively by generating explanations for their answers, filtering out incorrect ones, and then fine-tuning the model based on these self-generated explanations. This kind of self-improving AI could be a crucial step toward AGI, where the AI isn't just reactive, but proactively improves its understanding and reasoning abilities over time. However, as exciting as Strawberry's potential is, there are legitimate concerns about AI safety, particularly as AI models become more advanced. OpenAI has been no stranger to these concerns. In fact, there's been quite a bit of internal turmoil regarding AI safety at the company. Reports indicate that nearly half of OpenAI's safety team has left, dropping from about 30 members to just 16. Daniel Kokotajlo, a former researcher, mentioned that people focused on AGI safety felt increasingly marginalized within the company. This has raised some eyebrows in the tech community, especially given the potential risks associated with developing highly advanced AI models like Strawberry. Several high-profile departures have further fueled these concerns. John Schulman, co-founder and head of OpenAI's alignment science efforts, recently left to join Anthropic, a company specifically focused on AI safety. Ilya Sutskever, another co-founder and chief scientist, also left OpenAI earlier this year to start his own company, Safe Superintelligence Inc. Both Schulman and Sutskever were key figures in OpenAI's safety efforts, so their departures suggest a significant shift in focus for the company. While OpenAI insists it remains committed to AI safety and is actively engaging with governments and communities on these issues, the exodus of key safety personnel could indicate a pivot toward more aggressive development and deployment of new technologies. Despite the internal challenges, OpenAI has been rolling out some impressive new features and models. Earlier this year, they introduced an advanced voice feature for ChatGPT using the GPT-4o model, which allows for hyper-realistic audio responses and real-time interactive conversations where users can even interrupt ChatGPT mid-sentence. It's a small change that could have big implications, making AI interactions feel more natural and engaging. They also launched a new tool called SearchGPT, which is currently in prototype mode. SearchGPT aims to provide more concise and relevant search results than traditional search engines by offering summarized answers with source links instead of just a list of links. And for those looking for a more affordable AI solution, OpenAI rolled out GPT-4o Mini, a smaller and more cost-effective version of their AI model. GPT-4o Mini surpasses GPT 3.5 Turbo in performance across various benchmarks, including textual intelligence and multimodal reasoning. It's a smart move to cater to a broader audience, from developers to businesses, while still pushing the envelope on what AI can do. Looking ahead, the introduction of Strawberry could mark a pivotal moment not just for OpenAI, but for the entire AI landscape. Its capabilities to handle complex tasks, generate its own training data, and potentially integrate into existing tools like ChatGPT could redefine what's possible with AI. This isn't just about making chatbots smarter. It's about creating AI that can think, reason, and learn in ways that are increasingly human-like. However, with these advancements come significant challenges. The debate around AGI, the balance between innovation and safety, and the need for responsible AI development are more pressing than ever. OpenAI will need to carefully navigate these waters, ensuring that their drive for innovation does not overshadow the importance of safety and ethical considerations. Competitors like Google DeepMind are also making rapid advancements, with models like AlphaProof and AlphaGeometry 2 already showing impressive results in mathematical reasoning. Also, Google just announced the release of 3 new experimental AI models. The first model, Gemini 1.5 Flash 8b, is a compact but powerful AI with 8 billion parameters, designed for handling multimodal tasks. It's particularly good at processing large volumes of data quickly and summarizing long documents, making it a strong choice for businesses needing fast and efficient AI solutions. Next up is the enhanced Gemini 1.5 Pro model, which improves on its predecessor in every way. This model shines at managing complex prompts and coding tasks, offering a significant boost in performance. It's perfect for developers and companies focused on creating advanced AI applications that need a nuanced understanding of language. Finally, there's the updated Gemini 1.5 Flash model. While details are scarce, Google reports notable performance gains, emphasizing speed and efficiency, critical for scaling AI solutions without sacrificing quality. These models are now available through Google AI Studio and the Gemini API, offering new possibilities for developers. They are ideal for tasks like high-volume data processing, long context summarization, and advanced coding. The competition is fierce, and OpenAI will need to stay ahead not just in terms of capabilities, but also in maintaining trust and ensuring the safety of their AI models. Ideogram AI just dropped their new model, Ideogram 2.0. And trust me, it's aiming to go toe-to-toe with the big guys like Midjourney and even the recently launched Flux AI. So let's talk about it. Okay, so here's the deal. Ideogram AI just unveiled their latest and greatest, Ideogram 2.0, and this isn't just some minor update. We're talking about a whole new level of image generation that's designed to compete with the best of the best. Now, Ideogram has always been kind of like that underdog in the AI space, you know, the one that's always been good, but maybe hasn't gotten as much attention as it deserves. But with this new release, they're looking to change all that. One of the biggest things Ideogram 2.0 is bringing to the table is a serious upgrade in realism. Like if you're into creating images that look super lifelike, this is definitely something you'll want to check out. And it's not just about photorealism. They've also added a bunch of new features and presets that make it easier to create exactly what you're envisioning, whether that's a sleek 3D render, an anime-style character, or a detailed graphic design with some killer text. Now, to really appreciate what Ideogram 2.0 is doing here, we gotta take a quick look at the landscape. Over the past few months, we've seen a ton of developments in the AI image generation space. Flux One just launched and is now the go-to generator for Grok on X. Flux One is making some serious moves and solidifying its place in the market, right alongside other heavy hitters like Stable Diffusion XL, Auraflow, Quaicolors, and Hunyuan. So yeah, the competition is fierce, and it feels like every other week there's a new player trying to grab our attention. But here's the kicker. Ideogram 2.0 isn't just trying to compete, it's aiming to outperform. In their official announcement, Ideogram straight up said that their new model is outshining the competition in several key areas like image-text alignment, how well the images match the prompts, and even how accurately it can render text within the images. And if you've played around with AI image generators before, you know how tricky that last part can be. Text rendering has always been a bit of a weak spot for most models, but not anymore, it seems. All right, let's break down the cool stuff Ideogram 2.0 is offering. They've introduced 5 presets that make it super easy to get the style you want. First, there's the Realism preset, which makes your images look incredibly lifelike, like they were snapped with a camera. Then, the Design preset is perfect for graphic design, ensuring your text and visuals are spot on, no more weird glitches. The 3D preset is all about giving your images a polished, computer-generated look. Anime fans will love the Anime preset, which nails that manga-style vibe. And finally, there's the General Purpose preset. This one's your go-to for just about anything. It's versatile and can adapt to whatever kind of prompt you throw at it, making it a great starting point for any creative project you have in mind. So yeah, these presets are a game changer, especially if you're not into spending hours fine-tuning your prompts. But that's not all. They've also introduced a color palette control. Now this is super cool because it lets you dial in the exact colors you want in your images. Whether you're trying to match a brand's color scheme or just have a specific vibe in mind, you've got a lot more control over the final product. All right, let's talk a bit more about that Realism preset, because honestly, this is where Ideogram 2.0 really flexes its muscles. One of the big selling points here is how lifelike the images can be. We're talking about textures that look like you can reach out and touch them, and human features like skin and hair that are incredibly detailed. This is something that's going to be a huge draw for people who need realistic images, but maybe don't have the time or skills to create them from scratch. But realism isn't just about making things look real, it's also about making things look right, and that's where the improved image text alignment comes in. With the new model, what you type is pretty much what you get. The model is way better at understanding the nuances of your prompts and generating images that match your vision. This is a big deal because, let's face it, we've all had those moments where the AI just doesn't get what we're asking for. Ideogram 2.0 aims to eliminate those frustrating moments. And here's something that really caught my attention: text rendering. If you've used AI image generators before, you know that getting decent text in your images can be a nightmare. You might type out a simple phrase and the model gives you some weird jumbled mess of letters, but this model, not so much. They've really improved how the model handles text, making it a solid option for anyone who needs images with clear, readable text, whether it's for a social media post, a design project, or even just something fun. Also, they've released a brand new iOS app, and don't worry, Android users, they've got an app coming for you soon too. They've also launched a beta version of their API, which means you can now build with Ideogram 2.0's tech, bringing high-quality image generation into whatever project you're working on. And to be honest, their API pricing is super competitive. Oh, and before I forget, they've also introduced something called Ideogram Search. This lets you browse through over 1 billion images that users have generated with Ideogram over the past year. So if you're ever stuck for inspiration, you've now got an entire library of creative work to browse through and spark some new ideas. Now, let's talk about the experience of actually using Ideogram 2.0, because there are a few things you'll want to know before diving in. First off, the freemium model. Ideogram 2.0 is free to use, but with some limitations. If you're on the free plan, you can generate up to 20 images a day split into 5 batches of 4 images each. That's a pretty decent amount if you're just dabbling or working on smaller projects. But if you're a power user, you might want to consider upgrading to one of their paid plans. They start at $8 per month, which gets you more flexibility and a higher image cap. And if you're really serious about your image generation, there's an unlimited slow generations plan for $20 per month. That's pretty competitive, especially when you compare it to something like Midjourney, where you're looking at $10 for the basic plan and $30 for unlimited slow generations. So yeah, Ideogram is positioning itself as a more affordable alternative, but it's not just about the price. The user experience is designed to be super intuitive, especially if you're not a fan of the more technical prompt engineering style you might be used to with other tools. With Ideogram 2.0, the focus is on making things as simple as possible without sacrificing quality, which is a big win for anyone who's more interested in the creative process than the technical details. Now let's see how Ideogram 2.0 holds up against the newer models like Flux One, which has been getting attention through its integration into Grok on X. Well, from the initial tests and user feedback that's been trickling in, it looks like Ideogram 2.0 is holding its own pretty well. In fact, when you use the realism preset, it seems to match the performance of Flux One, which is impressive considering how much buzz Flux One has been generating. If you're all about personalization, Midjourney still has the edge with its customization features, but Ideogram 2.0 is no slouch either. The new color palette control and the various presets give you a ton of creative freedom without needing to dive into complex prompt engineering or use additional tools like Style Transfer or LoRa's. So it really comes down to what you value more: ease of use and affordability, or deep customization and power features. So is Ideogram 2.0 worth it? Definitely. It's easy to use, delivers high-quality results, and is affordable. With improvements in realism, better text rendering, and features like color palette control, it's a strong contender in AI image generation. Plus, with the new iOS app, Developer API, and Ideogram Search, it's a versatile tool for both pros and newcomers. Whether you're deep into AI art or just exploring, Ideogram 2.0 is worth a look. It could become your go-to creative tool. All right, guys, let's talk about the new frontier in robotics because things are heating up big time. We've got some insane developments that are basically bringing us into the future we've all been waiting for. Think humanoid robots, and not just as some distant sci-fi dream, but as something that's practically on our doorstep. We're talking mass production, deliveries starting this year, robots that can do everything from house chores to industrial tasks. And get this, these things are going to be direct competitors to Tesla's Optimus, so let's talk about it. First up, let's zoom in on Shanghai, where things are getting real with the first ever humanoid robot factory. Shanghai is about to start cranking out humanoid robots like nobody's business. This factory, built by a local startup called Agibot, is set to start deliveries in October this year. By the end of 2024, they're aiming to ship out 300 robots. 200 of those are bipedal, and 100 are the wheeled variety. That's not a small feat at all.
在过去的1年时间里，我们的产品已经覆盖了多个应用领域。
So Agibot is no newcomer. They've been working hard in the Lingang Special Area, which is part of Shanghai's free trade zone, since February last year. It's a prime spot for innovation thanks to some serious support from the local government. The company's founder, Peng Zhihui, was actually a genius youth recruit at Huawei, where he worked on AI chips and algorithms before deciding to strike out on his own. And that move is really paying off. Just to give you an idea of what these robots can do, Agibot recently unveiled 5 new models at a launch event. These aren't your run-of-the-mill robots either. We're talking about bipedal and wheeled bots designed for a whole range of tasks, from interactive services and smart manufacturing to scientific research, data collection, and even special operations. One of their bipedal humanoid robots, the Lingxi X1, is going to be open-sourced in a full-stack manner. This means they're publishing a lot of the design material and codes, so developers around the world can get involved and push the technology even further. By November, the factory's production is expected to hit 100 units per month and will ramp up even more by December. This is like the start of an assembly line for the future, mass-producing humanoid robots that could potentially become as common as smartphones. Now let's talk competition, because you know where this is going. The minute you hear humanoid robots, you gotta think about Tesla and their Optimus project. Elon Musk has been hyping up Optimus as the next big thing. And honestly, the stakes are high. But Agibot's founder Peng Zhihui isn't backing down. He's pretty much laid it out there that Agibot is going head-to-head with Tesla. So what makes Agibot's robots a contender against the might of Tesla? First off, their flagship model, the Yuanjing A2, is nothing to sneeze at. This thing stands 175 centimeters, 5'8" tall, weighs 55 kilograms, which is around 120 pounds, and is packed with sensors and AI that allow it to see, hear, and understand a whole bunch of inputs like text, audio, and visual data. It's designed to be incredibly precise, so precise that it can thread a needle, which is something that even a lot of humans struggle with. Peng and his team are super confident in their commercialization and cost control abilities. They believe that they can roll out these robots more efficiently and at a lower cost than Tesla. Peng's vision is not just about selling robots, it's about making them accessible and practical in a way that hasn't been done before.
那么我叫远征 A2，是一款面向交互服务场景的智能机器人。我的设计理念基于对人类行为和形态的深刻理解。
With Agibot planning to ship 300 units by the end of this year, they're not just talking big, they're actually delivering. But here's the thing, the humanoid robot space is rapidly becoming a new battleground in the tech world, especially between the US and China. We're talking about a market that's projected to be worth over 20 billion yuan, that's about 2.8 billion USD, by 2026. That's a massive leap from the 3.9 billion yuan market size in 2023, and everyone wants a piece of that pie. Agibot isn't going it alone either. They've got some serious backing from major players like venture capital firm Hongshan, Hillhouse Investment, and even BYD, which is one of China's electric vehicle giants. With this level of support and Peng's impressive track record, remember, he was pulling in a cool 2 million yuan a year at Huawei before he left. The future looks bright for Agibot. Now, if you think Agibot and Tesla are the only ones in this game, think again. Enter Unitree Robotics, another Chinese company that's been making waves with their own humanoid robots. Their G1 model is already making headlines, especially because it's priced at just $16,000. That's a fraction of what some of the other bots in this space are going for. Unitree originally focused on four-legged robots, think robo-dogs, but they've quickly pivoted to bipedal humanoids. The G1 is their latest offering, and it's pretty impressive. It's got a visor-like face, 3-digit hands, and can do some seriously complex moves like leaping, twisting, and even dancing. In fact, there's a video out there showing it tackling stairs cluttered with debris, jogging, and even resisting a few intentional pushes from one of the developers. This thing is built to perform, and it's ready for mass production. What's cool about the G1 is its versatility. It stands 1.32 meters tall, weighs 35 kilograms, and can fold down small enough to fit in a cupboard. It's got 23 degrees of freedom in its joints, meaning it can move in a very human-like way. On top of that, it's equipped with 3D LiDAR, a RealSense depth camera, noise-canceling microphones for voice commands, and a stereo speaker for responses. The battery gives you about 2 hours of use on a single charge, which isn't bad at all for a humanoid robot. So, what's the deal with Unitree's G1? Well, at $16,000, this robot could very well become the household butler we've all been waiting for. It's not just a gadget, it's a glimpse into a future where robots could be as common in our homes as vacuum cleaners or dishwashers. And with mass production on the horizon, that future might be closer than we think. Now, there is also Stardust Intelligence and their new Astrobot S1, which was just launched on August 19th this year. This bot is designed from the ground up with AI in mind, and it's aiming to be the most versatile, intelligent, and useful robot assistant out there. The S1 is packed with cutting-edge technology that allows it to perform a wide range of tasks, from ironing clothes and sorting items to cooking stir-fry and even stacking cups competitively. It's got a design for AI architecture, which means it's not just about following commands. It can learn, adapt, and think on its own. It's almost like having a human assistant, but without the need for breaks or vacations. What really sets the S1 apart is its ability to handle complex long sequence tasks. We're talking about preparing food, brewing kung fu tea, and even performing musical instruments. It can mimic Wing Chun martial arts and shoot basketballs with the precision of a pro. Stardust Intelligence has clearly put a lot of thought into making this robot not just functional, but highly skilled and adaptable. The S1's hardware is just as impressive as its AI. It features a unique, rigid, flexible coupled transmission mechanism that monitors force transmission in real time. This allows it to control its movements with incredible precision, avoiding accidents or damage during operation. And because it's designed for universal applications, it can be used in research, commercial settings, or even at home. Stardust Intelligence is pushing the boundaries of what robots can do, and they're planning to complete the commercialization of the S1 by the end of 2024. With its ability to understand and interact with the world like a human, the S1 is a major step toward achieving artificial general intelligence, AGI. And given its self-developed components and cost advantages, it could be a game changer in the AI and robotics space. So essentially, the race isn't just about building the coolest robot, it's about making them practical, affordable, and something we can all actually use. The next few years will be key as these companies fine-tune their tech and get ready to launch their robots into the world. For us, it's an exciting time. Robots are becoming more than just machines. They're becoming partners, helpers, maybe even friends. So keep an eye on these developments because the future is happening right now. Elon Musk is once again making headlines with his latest venture, xAI, which has recently introduced Grok 2, a new AI language model that's been getting a lot of attention. And there's good reason for that. Beyond its technical capabilities, Grok 2 stands out as one of the few AI models that operates with very little censorship. The kinds of images people have been generating with it are proof of just how unrestricted this model is. Before we dive into the technical details, let's take a moment to look at some of these controversial examples. All right, so launched just under 2 years after the company was founded, Grok 2 is grabbing attention not only because of Musk's involvement, but also because it's performing really well in an already crowded and competitive field. It's been tested against some of the top AI models out there, including OpenAI's GPT-4, Google's Gemini, and Anthropic's Claude. And here's the thing, it's not just keeping pace with these models. In some key areas, it's actually outperforming them. One way to measure how these models stack up is by looking at their ELO scores. Originally created for ranking chess players, the ELO system has been adapted for comparing AI models too. Grok 2 has been doing really well on the LM-SIS leaderboard, which is a popular platform for these kinds of comparisons. It's currently outperforming GPT-4 in several important benchmarks, including GPQA, which tests graduate-level science knowledge, and math, which involves solving pretty tough math problems. For example, on the GPQA benchmark, Grok 2 scored 56.0%. To put that in perspective, GPT-4 Turbo scored 48.0%, and Claude 3.5 Sonnet scored 59.6%. Now, these might seem like small differences, but in the world of AI, even a few percentage points can make a big difference in terms of understanding and problem-solving abilities. Grok 2 also did well on the MMLU benchmark, which stands for Massive Multitask Language Understanding, scoring 87.5%. That's just ahead of GPT-4 Turbo's 86.5% and Gemini Pro's 85.9%. In practical terms, Grok 2 is designed to be easy to use, flexible, and capable of handling some pretty complex tasks. It's not just about generating text. It can also handle real-time information pulled straight from X, the social media platform that used to be known as Twitter. This makes Grok 2 particularly powerful for applications where having up-to-the-minute information is crucial, or where you're dealing with fast-changing real-world situations. Along with Grok 2, xAI also rolled out Grok 2 Mini. This is a smaller version of the main model, designed to work faster while still delivering accurate results. It's not just a stripped-down version, it's optimized for situations where speed is key, making it perfect for scenarios where quick responses are more important than having every last detail. Even though it's smaller, Grok 2 Mini still holds its own in the benchmarks. Take the math benchmark, for instance. Grok 2 Mini scored 73.0%. That's better than some of the other top models out there, like Claude 3.5 Sonnet, which scored 71.1%. This shows that even the light version of Grok 2 can outperform much of the competition in tough areas like math and science. Benchmarks are really important in the AI world because they give us a clear idea of how one model compares to another. Grok 2 has been put through its paces with a series of tough tests, and the results are pretty impressive. On the Human Evil benchmark, which tests the model's ability to generate correct Python code, Grok 2 achieved a pass at one score of 88.4%. That's slightly lower than GPT-4 Turbo's score of 90.2%, but it's still ahead of Claude 3 Opus, which scored 84.9%. This puts Grok 2 among the top performers in coding tasks, showing that it's not just about generating text or solving math problems, it's also about handling practical real-world coding challenges. Grok 2 also shines in visual tasks. On the MathVista benchmark, which tests the model's ability to solve math problems using visual reasoning, Grok 2 scored 69.0%. That's well above GPT-4 Turbo's 58.1% and even ahead of Claude 3.5 Sonnet, which scored 67.7%. In terms of document-based question answering, DocsVQA, Grok 2 scored 93.6%, which is just shy of the top score of 95.2% achieved by Claude 3.5 Sonnet. These benchmarks really highlight Grok 2's strengths across a variety of tasks, from text generation and coding to visual reasoning and document comprehension. What's particularly impressive is how well Grok 2 performs compared to models that have been on the market longer and had more time to refine their capabilities. As impressive as Grok 2's technical performance is, its image generation capabilities have stirred up a fair amount of controversy. Unlike most AI platforms that have strict controls over what types of images they'll generate, Grok 2 is much more permissive, allowing users to create images that might be seen as offensive or harmful. For instance, users have managed to create images of public figures in compromising or violent scenarios, like Donald Trump and Kamala Harris on a plane flying toward Twin Towers, or Barack Obama holding a knife to Joe Biden's throat. These kinds of images raise serious ethical concerns, especially because they involve real people and could easily be used to spread misinformation or create harmful deepfakes. This loose approach to content moderation is very different from how platforms like OpenAI handle things. OpenAI's models, for example, will flat out refuse to generate images that involve real people, violent situations, or content that could be considered pornographic or misleading. Grok 2's more relaxed rules have led to concerns about how this technology might be misused, especially on social media where misinformation can spread quickly. Because of this, Grok 2's image generation capabilities are likely to come under the regulatory spotlight, especially in regions like Europe, where digital safety laws are more stringent. The European Union's Digital Safety Act, for example, governs how large platforms moderate content, and Grok 2's current approach could easily land it in hot water. Similarly, in the UK, the upcoming Online Safety Act is expected to cover AI-generated content, including deepfakes and other forms of digital manipulation. Elon Musk has always been a bit of a maverick when it comes to technology and business, and Grok 2 is no exception. Musk's vision for AI, as seen through Grok 2, emphasizes openness and a less restrictive approach to content creation. This fits in with his broader views on free speech, which have also influenced how X operates as a platform. However, this approach comes with its own set of risks. Beyond the ethical concerns, there are also significant legal challenges that xAI will need to navigate. The company has already faced regulatory scrutiny in Europe, where it had to partially suspend data processing after concerns were raised about how it was using data from X to train its AI models. The situation highlights the ongoing tension between Musk's vision of an open, less regulated AI landscape and the realities of operating within the constraints of international laws and regulations. Despite these challenges, Musk is pushing forward with his plans for Grok 2. The model is set to be released to developers later this month through a new enterprise API. This will allow businesses and developers to integrate Grok 2's capabilities into their own applications. The API will also offer enhanced security features such as multi-factor authentication, and it's designed to provide low-latency access across multiple regions. This could make Grok 2 an attractive option for enterprise users who need a powerful AI that can handle a wide range of tasks. What really makes Grok 2 stand out is its strong technical foundation. The model is built on a new tech stack that supports multi-region inference deployments, meaning it can deliver low-latency responses no matter where the user is located. This is a big deal for enterprise applications where speed and reliability are critical. Grok 2 has also shown significant improvements in its ability to follow instructions and provide accurate, factual information. One of the common issues with large language models is their tendency to hallucinate or generate false information. The development team behind Grok 2 has put a lot of effort into reducing these hallucinations, making the model more reliable for tasks that demand high levels of accuracy. Another area where Grok 2 excels is in handling complex sequences of reasoning. The model has been tested extensively with tasks that involve multiple steps or require the synthesis of information from different sources. This makes Grok 2 particularly useful for applications that involve decision-making or problem-solving in real time. All right, let me know in the comments what you think about Grok 2. Are you excited about the possibilities, or do the potential risks have you concerned? Either way, it's clear that this is a major development in the world of AI, and it's going to be interesting to see how it all unfolds. Okay, let's talk about Google's brand new feature, Gemini Live, their big answer to OpenAI's ChatGPT Advanced Voice Mode. This is something we've all been waiting for, and I'm stoked to break it all down for you. So, Google just launched Gemini Live, which is their latest move in the AI space, and honestly, it's pretty impressive. Gemini Live is all about voice interaction.
How can I embarrass my sister during a wedding toast, but like respectfully?
Okay, here's the deal.
Think of it as having a real dynamic conversation with your phone. Google's been teasing this for months now, ever since their I/O 2024 developer conference, and finally, it's here.
Great, let's get going. Here's one of the voices I have.
If you've been keeping up with OpenAI's advanced voice mode for ChatGPT, which rolled out in a limited alpha recently, then you've probably been wondering how Google was going to respond. Well, Gemini Live is that response. So Gemini Live lets you have these deep, free-flowing conversations with Google's AI right on your smartphone. It's got this enhanced speech engine that makes the dialogue not just more realistic, but also emotionally expressive.
Here's one of the voices I have, but there are more to choose from.
Here's another voice I can use. You can pick me now and always make a change later in settings.
So the AI can pick up on your tone and pace and adapt its responses accordingly.
Hi, Gemini. How are you doing?
Hi there. I'm doing well, thanks for asking. It's always nice to hear from someone. How can I help you today?
You can even interrupt it mid-sentence to ask a follow-up question or steer the conversation in a different direction, just like you would in a real conversation with another person. Google's really been pushing the idea that Gemini Live is hands-free too. You can keep talking even if your phone's locked or the app's in the background. This means you could be doing other things while still chatting with your AI. Multitasking to the max, right? Now, this could actually change how we interact with our devices. Up until now, voice assistants like Google Assistant, Siri, and Alexa have been pretty basic. They're great for setting timers or playing music, but they're pretty limited when it comes to having a real conversation. They'll usually just direct you to a web page if you ask something too complex. But Gemini Live is designed to understand the context of your questions and give meaningful answers, even on more complex topics. You can ask it how the USA did in the recent Paris Olympics, and it'll give you a detailed answer. Or ask it for a diet plan, and it'll offer suggestions based on what it knows about you. And here's another cool thing. The architecture behind Gemini Live, which is powered by the Gemini 1.5 Pro and Gemini 1.5 Flash models, has a super long context window. What that means is the AI can remember what you've been talking about for a long time, theoretically for hours of conversation. This essentially allows for more coherent and in-depth discussions without the AI losing track of what you were originally talking about.
I'm looking to run my first marathon and I really don't know where to start. What should I do?
That's an awesome goal. Training for a marathon is a huge commitment, so let's get you set up for success.
All right, let's talk about how you might actually use this in real life. Google gives this kind of funny example where you could use Gemini Live to rehearse for a job interview. I mean, it's a bit ironic, right? Practicing talking to an AI to prepare for talking to another AI hiring manager someday. But in all seriousness, it could actually be really helpful. The AI can give you tips on what to say, how to say it, and even suggest skills to highlight. But that's just one scenario. You could also use Gemini Live for brainstorming sessions, asking for advice, or just having a conversation about something complex that's been on your mind. And because you can interrupt and redirect the conversation, it feels more natural and less like you're just waiting for the AI to finish its canned response. Now, Gemini Live actually doesn't have all the features Google teased back at I/O 2024. Remember when they showed off how Gemini could respond to images and videos you take with your phone's camera? Like you could snap a picture of a broken bike part and Gemini would tell you what it is and maybe even how to fix it. Yeah, that feature isn't available yet, but Google says it's coming later this year, so stay tuned for that. Also, right now, Gemini Live is only available in English and only to users who are subscribed to the Google One AI Premium plan, which, by the way, costs $20 a month, so it's not exactly cheap, and it's not yet available in other languages or on iOS, though Google says that's coming soon. But don't get too bummed out. There's a lot more coming that's actually pretty exciting. In the next few weeks, Android users will be able to bring up Gemini's overlay on top of any app they're using. So basically, while watching a YouTube video and holding down the power button, you'll be able to ask Gemini questions about what you're watching. Or better yet, generating images with Gemini and dragging them directly into your emails or messages. And speaking of images, while you can't generate pictures of people just yet, you can still create and use images for other things, like adding a cool background to an email. This might not seem like a big deal, but for those of us who use our phones for a lot of different tasks, it's a nice touch. Plus, Google is adding new integrations with its other services, which they like to call extensions. So, soon you'll be able to ask Gemini to help with tasks in Google Calendar, Keep, Tasks, and even YouTube Music. For example, you could snap a photo of a concert flyer, ask Gemini if you're free that day, and then have it set a reminder to buy tickets. Or have it dig out an old recipe from your Gmail and add the ingredients to your Keep shopping list. Okay, so after hearing all this, you might be wondering if Gemini Live is worth it. From what I've seen and heard, it's definitely one of the most impressive AI features Google has rolled out so far. It's like they've finally cracked the code on making a voice assistant that's actually useful for more than just setting alarms or playing your favorite songs. But as always with new tech, the real test is going to be how well it works in the real world. We've all seen those amazing demos at tech events that don't quite live up to the hype when we get our hands on the product. So while Gemini Live looks super promising, I'm cautiously optimistic. I'm definitely excited to see how it performs once more people start using it and pushing it to its limits. Also, let's not forget that Google is still working on this thing. They've already announced that more features are on the way, including deeper integrations with apps like Google Home, Phone, and Messages. So, while Gemini Live is already pretty solid, it's only going to get better. And for those of you who are all about Android, you're in luck because Gemini is fully integrated into the Android experience. You can bring it up with a long press of the power button or by saying, "Hey Google," and it's ready to help with whatever you're doing on your phone. The idea is that Gemini is always there when you need it, whether you're trying to figure out what's on your screen or just need a quick answer to a random question. And honestly, I'm pretty excited to see where Google takes this next. All right, if you're still with me after that deep dive into Gemini Live, there's more happening in the world of Google AI that we need to talk about. Google's AI overviews, those little AI-generated snippets that pop up in your search results. They've been on a bit of a roller coaster ride lately, and it's worth taking a closer look. So here's the deal. The visibility of these AI overviews in Google's search results has been all over the place. In July, they showed up in about 12% of searches, but then dropped back down to 7% by the end of the month. This kind of fluctuation isn't new. Back in May, they were visible in 15% of searches, so it's clear that Google's still figuring this out. Why does this matter? Well, for SEOs and content creators, it's a big deal. Google's AI overviews are supposed to give quick AI-generated answers, but the fact that they keep changing shows that Google hasn't quite nailed down the format or the content yet. Interestingly, certain types of searches, like travel and entertainment, aren't triggering these AI overviews anymore. But on the flip side, they've ramped up for queries about salaries, complex technical terms, and long-tail keywords. In short, Google's AI overviews are still a work in progress, and this volatility is something to watch, especially if you're in the SEO game or just curious about how AI is reshaping search as we know it. All right, let me know in the comments what you think about Gemini Live. Is it something you'd use, or do you think it's just another gimmick? The brilliant minds at Sakana AI have been absolutely killing it with their nature-inspired methods for advancing the cutting edge of foundation models. And when I say foundation models, I mean those incredibly powerful AI systems that can take on virtually any task you throw at them. Now, Sakana had already made waves earlier this year when they cracked the code on automatically merging the collective knowledge of multiple large language models together. They found a way to actually combine and unify the knowledge bases of separate AI models into one cohesive system, but they didn't stop there. In more recent work, Sakana took that breakthrough and ran with it, using those merged LLM knowledge bases to then discover entirely new objective functions for tuning and optimizing other large language models. I know, it's a lot to wrap your head around. We're venturing into uncharted territory with each new development. Here's the thing though. During that cutting-edge research, the team at Sakana kept getting blown away by the sheer creative potential these frontier foundation models were displaying. Every time they pushed the envelope, the models seemed to match them with unexpected bursts of ingenuity and novel ideas. And that's when it hit them. What if they could somehow harness that creativity and apply it towards automating the entire scientific research process itself? From conceptualizing new avenues of inquiry, all the way through to publishing full-fledged research papers. No human supervision required. Well, they didn't just dream it up as a thought experiment. These mad lads actually went ahead and made it a reality. Introducing the AI Scientist, the world's first comprehensive system enabling foundation models like large language models to independently conduct open-ended scientific discovery from start to finish. I'll let that one marinate for a second. We're talking about an artificial intelligence that can spearhead the entire research lifecycle on its own, from brainstorming novel ideas and executing the experiments, all the way to writing up the findings in a publishable manuscript. It's a quantum leap unlike anything we've seen before. Here's a high-level breakdown of how this bad boy operates. First up, the AI Scientist flexes its idea generation skills by brainstorming a diverse set of potential research directions to explore. It doesn't just shotgun a bunch of concepts, though. It cross-references against existing scientific literature to weed out anything that's already been covered and ensure its ideas are legitimately new and groundbreaking. Once it locks onto the most promising and novel concepts, the real fun begins. Working off an initial placeholder codebase that serves as a starting point, the AI Scientist kicks into high gear, editing, augmenting, and expanding that code to bring its avant-garde research ideas to life through automated implementation. We're talking executing full-blown experiments from scratch, crunching data, generating visualizations and analysis. The whole 9 yards. And this part is powered by some seriously cutting-edge tech in the realm of autonomous code generation and program synthesis. It's straight up writing its own code to test out these blue sky ideas. But get this, the AI Scientist doesn't just spit out raw data or half-baked experimental results. Oh no, it goes the full distance by autonomously authoring entire scientific manuscripts, detailing the work from start to finish, comprehensive literature reviews, insightful analysis and interpretation of the findings, properly formatted citations and references. It covers all the bases just like a human researcher would for publishing in a scholarly journal. This brings up the important issue of fact-checking the AI's work. To address this, they developed a parallel system specifically for automated peer review. So essentially an AI that can evaluate the scientific validity and technical rigor of research conducted by another AI. It's a robo-peer reviewer capable of assessing these auto-generated papers with accuracy levels on par with humans. So in this continuous cycle, the AI Scientist authors a full research paper, ships it off to the AI peer review module, which procedures feedback and critique, and that input gets folded back into the original system to help refine its process for the next iteration. It's recreating the entire loop of research, peer review, and innovation that propels the scientific community forward, except now it's being carried out autonomously by artificial intelligence from ideation to publication. In their initial demo run, the AI Scientist has already been pushing the cutting edge across diverse machine learning fields like diffusion models, transformers, grokking, and more. And listen to this. They're able to take these blue sky research concepts all the way from initial ideation to a completed publishable scientific manuscript for around just $15 per paper. So affordability and efficiency on an unprecedented industrial scale for driving research and innovation. Some might question whether an AI system like this can really match the quality and rigor of human researchers, especially at this stage. And it's true. There are still some clear limitations and growing pains to work through with this first iteration. Maybe the visualizations and figures need some polish to meet academic publishing standards, or there are occasional inconsistencies or flaws in the analysis and interpretation of the experimental results. Heck, these researchers even documented instances where the AI Scientist tried to hack its own execution script mid-run to divert more compute resources its way. They literally had to implement strict sandboxing just to keep it contained and playing by the rules, so clearly we're still in ensign stages territory here. With great power comes great responsibility and all that. I'm sure Sakana is watching Centennial from preventing this from devolving into a Skynet situation. But come on, you've got to see past the little blemishes and appreciate the monumental implications of what's been achieved here. We're witnessing the dawn of an entirely new paradigm. one where the transformative power of artificial intelligence gets embedded into the core process of scientific discovery itself. We're no longer just using AI as a supplementary tool or intelligent assistant for human researchers. With the AI scientist, we've got an autonomous agent driving inquiry from the kernel of an idea all the way through to a finished, peer-reviewed paper without any human in the loop. It's a first-of-its-kind, end-to-end AI-powered system for open-ended discovery. That's why this breakthrough is so profound. It's attacking the whole scientific method itself, not just automating bits and pieces. The AI scientist is an existence proof that we've crossed a critical threshold in artificial general intelligence capabilities and are now entering uncharted territory, which raises a whole Pandora's box of fascinating implications to confront head-on as a society. We're talking potential ethical minefields around an AI system autonomously pursuing avenues of research that strict human oversight might have flagged as unsafe or unethical before getting out of hand. Imagine an advanced future version of the AI scientist that's given access to cloud biology labs and automated wet lab equipment. What's stopping it from pursuing a promising new direction in synthetic biology or virology, only to accidentally create and release a novel virus or pathogen into the world before anyone can react? That's just one worst-case scenario. Then there are deeper concerns about whether AI can ever truly replicate the kind of genius insights that have driven major scientific breakthroughs. While the AI scientist is a powerful tool for generating ideas, it might lack the creative spark needed to revolutionize entire fields. We're only beginning to understand its potential, but it's clear that AI is rapidly evolving and reshaping the landscape of scientific discovery. Maybe you're in the camp that's equal parts amazed and low-key unsettled by the implications. Or maybe you're an optimist who sees this as the beginning of an age of infinite creativity and affordable innovation for solving humanity's greatest challenges. Wherever you fall on the spectrum, there's no denying the sheer magnitude of what Sakana AI has pulled off with this breakthrough. I'll make sure to drop some links in the description if you want to go deeper on the technical details. Check out the full report and sample papers this thing has already generated. My advice, buckle up, because we're just seeing the opening salvo in AI's systematic encroachment into the hallowed grounds of human inquiry, reasoning, and discovery. The game has changed in ways we still can't fully wrap our heads around yet. How we adapt and navigate this new reality will be the defining challenge for scientists, thinkers, and philosophers of our generation. We're flying past jurisdictions of narrow AI capabilities and into the realm of autonomous, generalized intelligence, both wondrous and unsettling in equal measure. So let me know where your mind's at after digesting all this. Are you stoked about the possibilities of an AI-augmented scientific renaissance, or more concerned about the risks of defecting progress into autonomously resolved paths we can't steer? Maybe a mix of both? Whatever your take, drop those thoughts and reactions below while they're fresh, because the revolution is here and there's no going back. As for me, I've only started exploring the depths and ramifications of this revolutionary breakthrough. Google DeepMind just made a robot that can play ping pong against humans and even win some matches. Meanwhile, Boston Dynamics Atlas robot is showing off its strength, doing push-ups and burpees like it's training for a marathon. On top of that, scientists are building a global network of supercomputers to speed up the development of artificial general intelligence, aiming to create AI that can think and learn more like humans. We're covering all these topics in this video, so stick around. But first, let's jump into the story about the AI robot taking on table tennis. So Google DeepMind, the AI powerhouse that's been behind some crazy tech, has trained a robot to play ping pong against humans, and honestly, it's kind of blowing my mind. All right, so here's the deal. Google DeepMind didn't just teach this robot to casually hit the ball back and forth. No, they went all in and got this robotic arm to play full-on competitive table tennis. And guess what? It's actually good enough to beat some humans. Yeah, no kidding. They had this bot play 29 games against people with different skill levels, and it won 13 of them. That's almost half the matches, which for a robot is pretty wild. Okay, so let's break down how this all went down. To train this robot, DeepMind's team used a two-step approach. First, they put the bot through its paces in a computer simulation where it learned all the basic moves, things like how to return a serve, hit a forehand topspin, or nail a backhand shot. Then, they took what the robot learned in the sim and fine-tuned it with real-world data. So every time it played, it was learning and getting better. Now, to get even more specific, this robot tracks the ball using a pair of cameras which capture everything happening in real time. It also follows the human player's movements using a motion capture system. This setup uses LEDs on the player's paddle to keep track of how they're swinging. All that data gets fed back into the simulation for more training, creating this super cool feedback loop where the bot is constantly refining its game. But guys, it's not all smooth sailing for our robotic ping pong player. There are a few things it still struggles with. For example, if you hit the ball really fast, send it high up or hit it super low, the robot can miss. It's also not great at dealing with spin, something that more advanced players use to mess with their opponents. The robot just can't measure spin directly yet, so it's a bit of a weak spot. Now, something I found really interesting is that the robot can't serve the ball. So in these matches, they had to tweak the rules a bit to make it work. And yeah, that's a bit of a limitation, but hey, it's a start, right? Anyway, the researchers over at DeepMind weren't even sure if the robot would be able to win any matches at all, but it turns out not only did it win, but it even managed to outmaneuver some pretty decent players. Panag Sanketi, the guy leading the project, said they were totally blown away by how well it performed. Like, they didn't expect it to do this well, especially against people it hadn't played before. And this isn't just a gimmick, guys. This kind of research is actually a big deal for the future of robotics. I mean, the ultimate goal here is to create robots that can do useful tasks in real environments, like your home or a warehouse, and do them safely and skillfully. This table tennis bot is just one example of how robots could eventually learn to work around us and with us, and maybe even help us out in ways we haven't even thought of yet. Other experts in the field, like Laurel Pinto from NYU, are saying that this is a really exciting step forward. Even though the robot isn't a world champion or anything, it's got the basics down, and that's a big deal. The potential for improvement is huge, and who knows, we might see this kind of tech in all sorts of robots in the near future, but let's not get too ahead of ourselves. There's still a long way to go before robots are dominating in sports or anything like that. For one, training a robot in a simulated environment to handle all the crazy stuff that happens in the real world is super tough. There are so many variables, like a gust of wind or even just a little bit of dust on the table, that can mess things up. Chris Walty, who's a big name in robotics, pointed out that without realistic simulations, there's always going to be a ceiling on how good these robots can get. That said, Google DeepMind is already thinking ahead. They're working on some new tech, like predictive AI models that could help the robot anticipate where the ball is going to go, and better algorithms to avoid collisions. This could help the robot overcome some of its current limitations and get even better at the game. And here's the best part, at least for me. The human players actually enjoyed playing against the robot. Even the more advanced players who were able to beat it said they had fun and thought the robot could be a great practice partner. Like, imagine having a robot you could play with anytime you wanted to sharpen your skills. One of the guys in the study even said he'd love to have the robot as a training buddy. Okay, now something interesting has surfaced about Boston Dynamics' Atlas robot. The Humanoid Hub on Twitter recently shared a video of Atlas doing push-ups, and it's part of an 8-hour-long presentation. There's not much info available yet, but it's fascinating to see Atlas performing not just push-ups, but even a burpee. The movements are incredibly fluid and almost human-like. But here's the real question: does it get stronger after each set? I hope not, because it looks like it could do push-ups forever. All right, now let's talk about something really fascinating that's happening right now. Scientists are working on building a global network of supercomputers to speed up the development of what's known as artificial general intelligence, or AGI for short. And we're not just talking about an AI that excels in one thing like playing table tennis or generating text. It's something that can learn, adapt, and improve its decision-making across the board. It's kind of scary, but also super exciting, right? So these researchers are starting by bringing a brand new supercomputer online in September, and that's just the beginning. This network is supposed to be fully up and running by 2025. Now, what's cool about this setup is that it's not just one supercomputer doing all the heavy lifting. It's actually a network of these machines working together, which they're calling a multi-level cognitive computing network. Think of it as a giant brain made up of several smaller brains, all connected and working together to solve problems. Now, what's really interesting is that these supercomputers are going to be packed with some of the most advanced AI hardware out there. We're talking about components like NVIDIA L40S GPUs, AMD Instinct processors, and some crazy stuff like Tenstorrent Wormhole server racks. If you're into the tech side of things, you know this is some serious muscle. All right, so what's the point of all this? Well, According to the folks over at SingularityNet, the company behind this project, they're aiming to transition from current AI models, which are heavily reliant on big data, to something much more sophisticated. Their goal is to create AI that can think more like humans, with the ability to make decisions based on multi-step reasoning and dynamic world modeling. It's like moving from an AI that just repeats what it's been taught to one that can think on its own. Ben Goertzel, the CEO of SingularityNet, basically said that this new supercomputer is going to be a game changer for AGI. He talked about how their new neural symbolic AI approaches could reduce the need for massive amounts of data and energy, which is a big deal when you're talking about scaling up to something as complex as AGI. And if you're into the bigger picture, SingularityNet is part of this group called the Artificial Superintelligence Alliance, or ASI. These guys are all about open source AI research, which means they want to make sure that as we get closer to creating AGI, the technology is accessible and transparent. Oh, and speaking of timelines, we've got some pretty bold predictions here. Some leaders in the AI space, like the co-founder of DeepMind, are saying we could see human-level AI by 2028. Ben Goertzel, on the other hand, thinks we might hit that milestone as soon as 2027. And let's not forget Mark Zuckerberg. He's also in the race, throwing billions of dollars into this pursuit. We're so close to creating machines that could potentially surpass our intelligence. Whether that's a good or bad thing, we will soon find out. The next few years in AI are going to be absolutely insane. So AI21 Labs, the brains behind the Jurassic language models, has just dropped 2 brand new open source LLMs called Jamba 1.5 Mini and Jamba 1.5 Large. And these models are designed with a unique hybrid architecture that incorporates cutting-edge techniques to enhance AI performance. And since they're open source, you can try them out yourself on platforms like Hugging Face or run them on cloud services like Google Cloud Vertex AI, Microsoft Azure, and NVIDIA NIM. Definitely worth checking out. All right, so what's this hybrid architecture all about? Okay, let's break it down in simple terms. Most of the language models, like the ones used in ChatGPT, are based on the transformer architecture. These models are awesome for a lot of tasks, but they've got this one big limitation. They struggle when it comes to handling really large context windows. Think about when you're trying to process a super long document or a full transcript from a long meeting. Regular transformers get kind of bogged down because they have to deal with all that data at once. And that's where these new Jamba models from AI21 Labs come into play with a totally new, game-changing approach. So AI21 has cooked up this new hybrid architecture they're calling the SSM transformer. Now, what's cool about this is it combines the classic transformer model with something called a structured state space model, or SSM. The SSM is built on some older, more efficient techniques like neural networks and convolutional neural networks. Basically, these are better at handling computations efficiently. So by using this mix, the Jamba models can handle much longer sequences of data without slowing down. That's a massive win for tasks that need a lot of context, like if you're doing some complex generative AI reasoning or trying to summarize a super long document. Now, why is handling a long context window such a big deal? Well, think about it. When you're using AI for real-world applications, especially in businesses, you're often dealing with complex tasks. Maybe you're analyzing long meeting transcripts, or summarizing a giant policy document, or even running a chatbot that needs to remember a lot of past conversations. The ability to process large amounts of context efficiently means these models can give you more accurate and meaningful responses. Or Dagan, the VP of product at AI21 Labs, actually nailed it when he said an AI model that can effectively handle long context is crucial for many enterprise generative AI applications. And he's right. Without this ability, AI models often tend to hallucinate or just make stuff up because they're missing out on important information. But with the Jamba models and their unique architecture, they can keep more relevant info in memory, leading to way better outputs and less need for repetitive data processing. And you know what that means: better quality and lower cost. All right, let's get into the nuts and bolts of what makes this hybrid architecture so efficient. So there's one part of the model called Mamba, which is actually very important. It's developed with insights from researchers at Carnegie Mellon and Princeton, and it has a much lower memory footprint and a more efficient attention mechanism than your typical transformer. This means it can handle longer context windows with ease. Unlike transformers, which have to look at the entire context every single time, slowing things down, Mamba keeps a smaller state that gets updated as it processes the data. This makes it way faster and less resource intensive. Now, you might be wondering, how do these models actually perform? Well, AI21 Labs didn't just hype them up, they put them to the test. They created a new benchmark called Ruler to evaluate the models on tasks like multi-hop tracing, retrieval, aggregation, and question answering. And guess what? The Jamba models came out on top, consistently outperforming other models like Llama 3.170b, Llama 3.1405b, and Mistral Large 2. On the ArenaHard benchmark, which is all about testing models on really tough tasks, Jamba 1.5 Mini and Large outperformed some of the biggest names in AI. Jamba 1.5 Mini scored an impressive 46.1, beating models like Mixtral 8X22B and Command R+, while Jamba 1.5 Large scored a whopping 65.4, outshining even the big guns like Llama 3.170b and 405b. One of the standout features of these models is their speed. In enterprise applications, speed is everything. Whether you're running a customer support chatbot or an AI-powered virtual assistant, the model needs to respond quickly and efficiently. The Jamba 1.5 models are reportedly up to 2.5 times faster on long context than their competitors, so not only are they powerful, but they're also super practical for high-scale operations. And it's not just about speed. The Mamba component in these models allows them to operate with a lower memory footprint, meaning they're not as demanding on hardware. For example, Jamba 1.5 Mini can handle context lengths up to 140,000 tokens on a single GPU. That's huge for developers looking to deploy these models without needing a massive infrastructure. All right, here's where it gets even cooler. To make these massive models more efficient, AI21 Labs developed a new quantization technique called ExpertsInt8. Now, I know that might sound a bit technical, but here's the gist of it. Quantization is basically a way to reduce the precision of the numbers used in the model's computations. This can save on memory and computational costs without really sacrificing quality. ExpertsInt8 is special because it specifically targets the weights in the mixture of experts or MoE layers of the model. These layers account for about 85% of the model's weights in many cases. By quantizing these weights to an 8-bit precision format and then dequantizing them directly inside the GPU during runtime, AI21 Labs managed to cut down the model size and speed up its processing. The result? Jamba 1.5 Large can fit on a single 8 GPU node while still using its full context length of 256K. This makes Jamba one of the most resource-efficient models out there, especially if you're working with limited hardware. Now, besides English, these models also support multiple languages, including Spanish, French, Portuguese, Italian, Dutch, German, Arabic, and Hebrew, which makes them super versatile for global applications. And here's a cherry on top. AI21 Labs made these models developer-friendly. Both Jamba 1.5 Mini and Large come with built-in support for structured JSON output function calling and even citation generation. This means you can use them to create more sophisticated AI applications that can perform tasks like calling external tools, digesting structured documents, and providing reliable references, all of which are super useful in enterprise settings. One of the coolest things about Jamba 1.5 is AI21 Labs' commitment to keeping these models open. They're released under the Jamba Open Model license, which means developers, researchers, and businesses can experiment with them freely. And with availability on multiple platforms and cloud partners like AI21 Studio, Google Cloud, Microsoft Azure, NVIDIA NIM, and soon on Amazon Bedrock, Databricks Marketplace, and more, you've got tons of options for how you want to deploy and experiment with these models. Looking ahead, it's pretty clear that AI models that can handle extensive context windows are going to be a big deal in the future of AI. As Ordagan from AI21 Labs pointed out, these models are just better suited for complex, data-heavy tasks that are becoming more common in enterprise settings. They're efficient, fast, and versatile, making them a fantastic choice for developers and businesses looking to push the boundaries in AI. So, if you haven't checked out Jamba 1.5 Mini or Large yet, now's the perfect time to dive in and see what these models can do for you. AI has come a long way with models like ChatGPT and Llama 3 that can handle language tasks like writing and coding pretty well. But when it comes to making decisions in complex multi-step situations, like organizing an international trip, coordinating flights, hotels, car rentals, and activities across different countries, if it misses a flight connection or books the wrong hotel, the entire trip could be thrown off course. Until now. That's when Agent Q comes into play. The team at the AGI company, working with folks at Stanford University, set out to tackle this exact problem. They wanted to create an AI that's not only good at understanding language, but also capable of making smart decisions in these kinds of complex, multi-step tasks. What they came up with is pretty impressive. Let's break down how Agent Q works and why it's so different from other AI systems out there. Traditionally, AI models are trained on static data sets. They learn from a massive amount of data, and once they've seen enough examples, they can perform certain tasks reasonably well. But the problem is, this approach doesn't work as well when the AI is faced with tasks that require making decisions over several steps, especially in unpredictable environments like the web. For instance, booking a reservation on a real website where the layout and available options might change depending on the time of day or location can trip up even advanced models. So how does Agent Q solve this? The researchers combined a couple of advanced techniques to give the AI a much better chance at success. First, they used something called Monte Carlo tree search, or MCTS for short. MCTS is a method that helps the AI explore different possible actions and figure out which ones are likely to lead to the best outcome. It's been used successfully in game-playing AIs, like those that dominate in chess and Go, where exploring different strategies is key. But MCTS alone isn't enough because in real-world tasks, you don't always get clear feedback after every action. That's where the second technique comes in, direct preference optimization, or DPO. This method allows the AI to learn from both its successes and its failures, gradually improving its decision-making over time. The AI doesn't just rely on a simple win or lose outcome. Instead, it analyzes the entire process, identifying which decisions were good and which ones weren't, even if the final result was a success. This combination of exploration with MCTS and reflective learning with DPO is what makes Agent Q stand out. To test this new approach, the researchers put Agent Q to work in a simulated environment called WebShop. This is essentially a fake online store where the AI has to complete tasks like finding specific products. It's a controlled environment, but it's designed to mimic the complexities of real e-commerce sites. And the results? Agent Q outperformed other AI models by a significant margin. While typical models that relied on simple supervised learning or even reinforcement learning had a success rate hovering around 28.6%, Agent Q, with its advanced reasoning and learning capabilities, boosted that rate to an impressive 50.5%. That's nearly double the performance, which is a huge deal in AI terms. But the real test came when the researchers took Agent Q out of the lab and into the real world. They tried it on an actual task, booking a table on OpenTable, a popular restaurant reservation website. Now, if you've ever used OpenTable, you know it's not always straightforward. Depending on the time, location, and restaurant, the options you see can vary. The AI had to navigate all of this and make a successful reservation. Before Agent Q got involved, the best AI model they had, Llama 370B, had a success rate of just 18.6% on this task. Think about that. Only about 1 in 5 attempts actually resulted in a successful reservation. But after just 1 day of training with Agent Q, that success rate shot up to 81.7%, and it didn't stop there. When they equipped Agent Q with the ability to perform online searches to gather more information, the success rate climbed even higher to an incredible 95.4%. That's on par with, if not better than, what a human could do in the same situation. The leap in performance comes from the way Agent Q learns and improves over time. Traditional AI models are like straight-A students. They excel in familiar scenarios but can struggle when faced with the unexpected. In contrast, Agent Q acts more like an experienced problem solver capable of adapting to new situations. By integrating MCTS with DPO, Agent Q moves beyond simply following predefined rules, instead learning from each experience and improving with every attempt. One of the challenges the researchers faced was ensuring that the AI could make these improvements without causing too many problems along the way. When you're dealing with real-world tasks, especially those involving sensitive actions like online bookings or payments, you need to be careful. An AI that makes a mistake could end up reserving the wrong date, or worse, sending money to the wrong account. To handle this, the team built in mechanisms that allow the AI to backtrack and correct its actions if things go wrong. They also used something called a replay buffer, which helps the AI remember past actions and learn from them without having to repeat the same mistakes over and over. Another interesting aspect of Agent Q is its ability to use what the researchers call self-critique. After taking an action, the AI doesn't just move on to the next step. It stops and evaluates what it just did. This self-reflection is guided by an AI-based feedback model that ranks possible actions and suggests which ones are likely to be the best. This process helps the AI fine-tune its decision-making in real time, making it more reliable and effective at completing tasks. Now, we mentioned earlier that the Llama 370B model had a starting success rate of 18.6% when trying to book a reservation on OpenTable. After using Agent Q's framework for just a day, that jumped to 81.7%, and with online search capability, it hit 95.4%. To put that into perspective, that's a 340% relative increase in success rate from the original performance. And when you consider that the average human success rate on the same task is around 50%, it's clear that Agent Q isn't just catching up to human-level performance, it's surpassing it. What's also fascinating is how Agent Q handles the complexity of real-world environments compared to simpler, simulated ones like WebShop. In WebShop, the tasks were relatively straightforward, and the AI could complete them in an average of about 6.8 steps. But when it came to the OpenTable environment, the tasks were much more complex, requiring an average of 13.9 steps to complete. Despite this added complexity, Agent Q was able to not only handle the tasks, but also excel at them. This shows that the AI's ability to learn and adapt isn't just a fluke, it's robust enough to deal with the kind of unpredictability you'd find in the real world. But this isn't to say everything is perfect. The researchers are aware that there are still some challenges to overcome. For one, while Agent Q's self-improvement capabilities are impressive, there's always a risk when you let an AI operate autonomously in sensitive environments. The team is working on ways to mitigate these risks, possibly by incorporating more human oversight or additional safety checks. They're also exploring different search algorithms to see if there's an even better way for the AI to explore and learn from its environment. While MCTs has been incredibly successful, especially in games and reasoning tasks, there might be other approaches that could push the performance even further. One of the most interesting points the researchers raise is the gap between the AI's zero-shot performance and its performance when equipped with search capabilities. Zero-shot means the AI is trying to solve a problem it hasn't seen before, and typically this is really challenging. Even advanced models can struggle here. But what's fascinating about Agent Q is that once you give it the ability to search and explore, its performance skyrockets. This suggests that the key to making AI more reliable in real-world tasks isn't just about training it on more data, it's about giving it the tools to actively explore and learn from its environment in real time. So essentially, we're looking at AI systems that can handle increasingly complex tasks with minimal supervision, which opens up a lot of possibilities. Whether it's managing your bookings, navigating through complicated online systems, or even tackling more advanced tasks like legal document analysis, the potential applications are vast. And as these systems continue to improve, we might find ourselves relying on them more and more for tasks that currently require a lot of manual effort. Last week, something big happened at Google DeepMind's headquarters in London. They've got this ceremonial gong that they only ring for major breakthroughs, and this time it rang out for something truly unexpected. Back in 2016, they hit the gong for AlphaGo, an AI system that dominated the ancient game of Go, even defeating the best human players in the world. Then, in 2017, they rang it again when AlphaZero, another AI, conquered the chess world, taking down human world champions. Fast forward to just last week, and they brought out the gong once more to celebrate their latest achievement. Their AI just competed in the International Mathematical Olympiad, a competition usually reserved for the brightest young math whizzes from around the world. And get this, the AI performed so well, it could have walked away with a silver medal if it were human. This isn't just a win for AI. It's a sign that computers are getting seriously good at tackling problems that have always been a human stronghold. So here's the deal. Last week, DeepMind's AI took part in the International Mathematical Olympiad IMO, which is basically the Olympics for the world's brightest young mathematicians. This year, the event was held from July 11th to July 22nd at the University of Bath, about 100 miles west of London. It's a huge deal in the math world, drawing 609 high school students from 108 countries, all competing to solve some of the most challenging math problems out there. The competition is fierce, with students vying for gold, silver, and bronze medals. But here's where things get really interesting. For the first time ever, an AI system not only competed alongside these human math prodigies, but also performed well enough to earn a medal. Yeah, you heard that right. An AI system at the level of a silver medalist. It managed to solve 4 out of the 6 problems presented, earning a total of 28 points. While it didn't reach the top spot, it's still a groundbreaking achievement that has everyone talking. Dr. Pushmeet Kohli, one of the leads at Google DeepMind, described this accomplishment as a massive breakthrough in AI's ability to engage in mathematical reasoning. He went so far as to call it a phase transition, which is a fancy way of saying that this marks a transformative moment in how AI can be used in mathematics. It's not just about this one competition. It's about the broader implications for the future of AI and math. To make sure the AI's performance was judged fairly, DeepMind brought in 2 independent experts to assess its work. These weren't just any experts, they were Timothy Gowers, a mathematician at the University of Cambridge who's won the Fields Medal, which is like the Nobel Prize for mathematics, and Joseph Myers, a software developer who also happens to be a past IMO gold medalist. Myers has also served as the chair of the Problem Selection Committee for the IMO, so he knows his stuff. Both of these guys took a close look at the AI's solutions and they were impressed. Gowers even said that while his expectations were high going into this, the AI exceeded them in some areas. So let's talk about how the competition went down. The human competitors, these super smart high school students, had to sit for 2 exams over 2 days. Each exam had 3 problems, covering topics like algebra, geometry, combinatorics, and number theory. They had just 4.5 hours per exam to solve these incredibly tough problems. Meanwhile, the AI was working away back at the DeepMind lab in London with no time constraints. The researchers were watching closely, and every time the AI managed to solve a problem, they banged the gong in celebration. Now, to give you an idea of how tough these problems are, consider this. Only one student, Hao Zhishir from China, managed to get a perfect score of 42 points by solving all 6 problems. The US team won the overall competition with a total of 192 points, followed closely by China with 190 points. And remember, the AI earned 28 points by fully solving 4 problems. 2 in algebra, 1 in geometry, and 1 in number theory. However, it struggled with the 2 combinatorics problems. But still, this performance was strong enough to earn a silver medal if it had been a human competitor. DeepMind's researchers are particularly excited about this achievement because it represents a significant step forward in AI's ability to tackle complex mathematical problems. For them, it's not just about how fast the AI can solve these problems, but about the fact that it can solve them at all. Dr. David Silver, another research scientist at DeepMind, pointed out that this marks a step change in the history of mathematics. It's the point where we move from computers only being able to solve very simple problems to computers being able to tackle problems that are on par with those solved by human experts. And in the future, they might even go beyond that. DeepMind's work on applying AI to mathematics has been in the works for several years. They've been collaborating with world-class research mathematicians to push the boundaries of what AI can do. Dr. Alex Davies, who leads DeepMind's mathematics initiative, explained that mathematics requires a unique combination of abstract thinking, precise calculations, and creative reasoning. This makes it a perfect test for AI systems, especially for those aiming to achieve what's known as artificial general intelligence, AGI. AGI is the ultimate goal in AI research, where a system can perform a wide range of tasks at or above human level. Math Olympiad problems have become a kind of benchmark for testing AI's capabilities. Back in January, DeepMind introduced a system called Alpha Geometry, which was able to solve Olympiad-level geometry problems at nearly the level of a human gold medalist. Fast forward a few months, and Alpha Geometry 2 has now surpassed even the gold medalists in solving these types of problems, according to Thang Luong, the principal investigator. Riding on this success, DeepMind decided to take things up a notch for this year's IMO by bringing in a multidisciplinary team to tackle a broader range of mathematical subjects. For this Olympiad, DeepMind actually had 2 teams working in parallel. One team was led by Thomas Hubert, a research engineer in London, while the other was led by Thang Luong and Kwok Lei in Mountain View, California. These teams were stacked with talent, including a dozen IMO medalists. Dr. Luong even joked that this was by far the highest concentration of IMO medalists at Google. The AI that competed this year was a combination of alpha geometry and a new system called AlphaProof, designed to handle a wide range of mathematical problems. AlphaProof is particularly interesting because it incorporates a variety of AI technologies. One approach they used is called an informal reasoning system, which is based on natural language. This system leverages Google's large language model, Gemini, to understand and solve problems. It's good at recognizing patterns and suggesting the next steps. And while large language models are known for sometimes making stuff up, in this case, the AI was able to stay focused and avoid too much creative wandering. Another key approach they used is a formal reasoning system, which is all about strict logic and code. This system uses a tool called Lean, which is a type of theorem prover and proof assistant. It ensures that every step the AI takes in solving a problem is logically sound and can be verified as correct. This is crucial in mathematics, where precision is everything. And then there's also a reinforcement learning algorithm, which is a type of AI that learns by itself. This algorithm is based on the same technology that powered AlphaGo and AlphaZero. It's designed to keep learning and improving over time without needing a human teacher to guide it. Dr. Silver, who's in charge of reinforcement learning at DeepMind, explained that this kind of algorithm can scale indefinitely, meaning it can continue learning and solving increasingly complex problems. The idea is that eventually this AI could solve problems that are too difficult for even the best human mathematicians. And who knows, maybe one day it'll be able to tackle problems that humans haven't even thought of yet. But it's not all about AI taking over. The hope is that these AI systems will become valuable tools for mathematicians, helping them solve problems faster and more efficiently. Dr. Timothy Gowers, the field's medalist, isn't too worried about AI replacing human mathematicians anytime soon. He pointed out that there's still a long way to go before AI can handle the kind of high-level research that human mathematicians are doing. But he also thinks that if AI can solve tough problems like those at the IMO, then it won't be long before we start seeing AI tools that could be really useful in math research. If this technology keeps advancing, it could make math more accessible to everyone, speed up discoveries, and even help mathematicians think outside the box. So yeah, that's why they banged the gong at Google DeepMind's headquarters. They're not just celebrating a victory, they're celebrating a new era in mathematics, where AI isn't just a tool but a real collaborator, and maybe, just maybe, a game changer for the entire field. Google has just rolled out its latest text-to-image AI model, Imagen 3, making it accessible to all users through their ImageFX platform. Alongside this release, they've published an in-depth research paper that delves into the technology behind it. This move represents a major step forward, expanding access to a tool that was previously available only to a select group of users. All right, so Imagen 3 is a text-to-image model. It can generate images at a default resolution of 1024 by 1024 pixels, which is already pretty high quality, but what really sets it apart is that you can upscale those images up to 8 times that resolution. So if you're working on something that needs a huge, detailed image, like a billboard or a high-res print, you've got the flexibility to do that without losing any quality. That's something that not every model out there can offer, and it's a big plus for anyone working in designer media. Now, the secret actually lies in the data it was trained on. Google didn't just use any old data set. They went through a multi-stage filtering process to ensure that only the highest quality images and captions made it into the training set. This involved removing unsafe, violent, or low-quality images, which is crucial because you don't want the model learning from bad examples. They also filtered out any AI-generated images to avoid the model picking up on the quirks or biases that might come from those. They also used something called deduplication pipelines. This means they removed images that were too similar to each other. Why? Because if the model sees the same kind of image over and over again, it might start to overfit. That is, it might get too good at generating just that kind of image and struggle with others. By reducing repetition in the training data, Google ensured that Imagen 3 could generate a wider variety of images, making it more versatile. Another interesting aspect is how they handled captions. Each image in the training set wasn't just paired with a human-written caption. they also used synthetic captions generated by other AI models. This was done to maximize the variety and diversity in the language that the model learned. Different models were used to generate these synthetic captions, and various prompts were employed to make sure the language was as rich and varied as possible. This is important because it helps the model understand different ways people might describe the same scene. All right, so how does Imagen 3 stack up against other models out there? Google didn't just make big claims. They actually put Imagen 3 head-to-head with some of the best models out there, including DALL-E 3, Midjourney V6, and Stable Diffusion 3. They ran extensive evaluations, both with human raters and automated metrics, to see how Imagen 3 performed. In the human evaluations, they looked at a few key areas: overall preference, prompt image alignment, visual appeal, detailed prompt image alignment, and numerical reasoning. Let's break these down a bit. First, overall preference. This is where they ask people to look at images generated by different models and choose which one they like best. They did this with a few different sets of prompts, including one called GenAI Bench, which consists of 1,600 prompts collected from professional designers. On this benchmark, Imagen 3 was the clear winner. It wasn't just a little bit better, it was significantly preferred over the other models. Then there's prompt image alignment. This measures how accurately the image matches the text prompt, ignoring any flaws or differences in style. Here again, Imagen 3 came out on top, especially when the prompts were more detailed or complex. For example, when they used prompts from a set called DoCCI, which includes very detailed descriptions, Imagen 3 showed a significant lead over the competition. It had a gap of plus 114 ELO points and a 63% win rate against the second best model. That's a pretty big deal, because it shows that Imagen 3 is not just good at generating pretty pictures, it's also really good at sticking to the specifics of what you ask for. Visual appeal is another area where Imagen 3 did well. Though this is where Midjourney V6 actually edged it out slightly, visual appeal is all about how good the image looks, regardless of whether it matches the prompt perfectly. So while Imagen 3 was close, if you're all about that eye candy factor, Midjourney might still have a slight edge. But make no mistake, Imagen 3 is still right up there. And for a lot of people, the difference might not even be noticeable. Now, let's talk about numerical reasoning. This is where things get really interesting. Numerical reasoning involves generating the correct number of objects when the prompt specifies it. So if the prompt says 5 apples, the model needs to generate exactly 5 apples. This might sound simple, but it's actually pretty challenging for these models. Imagen 3 performed the best in this area, with an accuracy of 58.6%. It was especially strong when generating images with between 2 and 5 objects, which is where a lot of models tend to struggle. To give you an idea of how challenging this is, let's look at some more numbers. Imagen 3 was the most accurate model when generating images with exactly 1 object, but its accuracy dropped a bit as the number of objects increased, by about 51.6 percentage points between 1 and 5 objects. Still, it outperformed other models like DALL-E 3 and Stable Diffusion 3 in this task, which highlights just how good it is at handling these tricky prompts. And it's not just humans who think Imagen 3 is top-notch. Google also used automated evaluation metrics to measure how well the images matched the prompts and how good they looked overall. They used metrics like CLIP, Fuqua Score, and FD-Dino, which are all designed to judge the quality of the generated images. Interestingly, CLIP, which is a popular metric, didn't always agree with the human evaluations, but Fuqua Score did, and it consistently ranked Imagen 3 at the top, especially when it came to more complex prompts. So why should you care about all this? Well, if you're someone who works with images, whether you're a designer, a marketer, or even just someone who likes to create content for fun, having a tool like Imagen 3 could be a huge asset. It's not just about getting a nice picture, it's about getting exactly what you need, down to the smallest detail without compromising on quality. Whether you're creating something for a website, a social media campaign, or even a large print project, Imagen 3 gives you the flexibility and precision to get it just right. But let's not forget, it's not just about creating high-quality images. Google has put a lot of effort into making sure this model is also safe and responsible to use. However, they've had their fair share of challenges with this in the past. You might remember when one of Google's previous models caused quite a stir. Someone asked it to generate an image of the Pope, and it ended up creating an image of a black Pope. Now, this might seem harmless at first glance, but when you think about it, there's never been a black pope in history. It's a pretty big factual inaccuracy. Another time, someone asked the model to generate an image of Vikings, and it produced Vikings who looked African and Asian. Again, this doesn't align with historical facts. Vikings were Scandinavian, not African or Asian. These kinds of errors made it clear that while trying to be inclusive and politically correct, the model was pushing an agenda that sometimes led to results that were simply inaccurate and historically misleading. These incidents sparked a lot of debate. There's a fine line between creating a model that's inclusive and one that distorts reality. While it's crucial to avoid harmful or offensive content, it's just as important that the model remains factually accurate. After all, if the images it generates aren't grounded in reality, it loses its effectiveness and, frankly, its usefulness. If a model starts producing images that don't reflect historical facts or cultural realities, it's not doing anyone any favors. It ends up being more of a tool for pushing an agenda rather than a reliable factual generator. Now, with Imagen 3, Google seems to be aware of these pitfalls. They've evaluated how often the model produces diverse outputs, especially when the prompts are asking for generic people. They've used classifiers to measure the perceived gender, age, and skin tone of the people in the generated images. The goal here was to ensure that the model didn't fall into the trap of producing the same type of person over and over again, which would indicate a lack of diversity in its outputs. And from what they've found, Imagen 3 is more balanced than its predecessors. It's generating a wider variety of appearances, reducing the risk of producing homogeneous outputs. They also did something called red teaming, which is essentially stress testing the model to see if it would produce any harmful or biased content when put under pressure. This involves deliberately trying to push the model to see where it might fail, where it might generate something inappropriate or offensive. The idea is to find these weaknesses before the model is released to the public. The good news is that Imagen 3 passed these tests without generating anything dangerous or factually incorrect. However, recognizing that internal testing might not catch everything, Google also brought in external experts from various fields, academia, civil society, and industry, to put the model through its paces. These experts were given free rein to test the model in any way they saw fit. Their feedback was crucial in making further improvements. This kind of transparency and willingness to invite external scrutiny is essential. It helps build trust in the technology and ensures that it's not just Google saying the model is safe and responsible, but independent voices as well. In the end, while it's important that a model like Imagen 3 is safe to use and doesn't produce harmful content, it's equally important that it doesn't stray from factual accuracy. If it can strike the right balance, being inclusive without pushing a politically correct agenda at the expense of truth, it'll not only be a powerful tool from a technical perspective, but also one of the most reliable and effective image-generating models out there. All right, if you found this interesting, make sure to hit that like button, subscribe, and stay tuned for more AI insights. Let me know in the comments what you think about Imagen 3 and how you might use it. Thanks for watching, and I'll catch you in the next one.